Since he was little, his mom had always told him, there are countless women out there. If one cheats, you replace her. So when he saw his girlfriend of 3 years holding an umbrella for another man in the pouring rain, he made his move while she still thought she had hidden it perfectly. Without saying a word, he calmly took photos, then sent the video of her kissing a younger student in the rain all across Kingsley University. The moment the news broke, the comment from their mutual friends flooded the screen. He was not surprised at all to see them panicking. After all, everyone knew how devoted Chloe had been to him back then. She had chased him for a full 2.5 years, clinging to him relentlessly and begging him 88 times before he finally agreed. He stared at the updates and suddenly felt as if her so-called 100% love had been split cleanly in two. One half had been left with him, and the other half had been secretly given to someone else. He did not confront her, nor did he put on some pathetic win-her-back act. He simply deleted all of his social media accounts in silence, packed his luggage, and walked out of the home they shared without looking back. Early the next morning, Chloe got a call from her best friend, Stella. Stella's furious voice exploded through the phone. "Chloe, are you out of your freaking mind?" Chloe froze for a second when she heard that, but her friend gave her no time to think and immediately started cursing her out. "Victor is such a good man, and instead of appreciating him, you went and messed around with another guy. What exactly did he ever do to wrong you? How could you disgust him like this?" Chloe was hit with a brutal scolding from start to finish, and only then did she catch the key point in her friend's words. She shot to her feet and demanded into the phone, "What do you mean? Say it clearly." Her friend's voice turned icy. "I'm asking you, where are you right now?" Chloe was about to answer, but then suddenly remembered she was still at the hospital with Leo. The words stopped right at her lips, and obviously, her friend already knew why she was not answering. Seeing her hesitation, Stella became even angrier. "You're still at the hospital with that Leo, aren't you? Do you even know that your photos and videos together are already all over the campus forum?" Hearing that, Chloe felt like her mind had exploded. Only then did she remember that she had plans the night before. But after taking Leo to the hospital, she got so busy that it slipped her mind. What about Victor? Had he been waiting for her at the cake shop all night? Most importantly, what would Victor think when he saw those photos? She fumbled as she hung up the phone, and then saw countless missed calls, every single one of them for Victor. At that instant, Chloe clutched her chest in pain on reflex. She hurriedly opened her chat with Victor, and the moment she saw his message asking to meet, she immediately tried to call him and explain everything. But at that very moment, Leo grabbed her hand from beside her. Looking at her pitifully, Leo said, "Chloe, can you stay here with me?" Chloe said nothing and coldly pried Leo's hand off hers. At that moment, reason told Chloe clearly that if she failed to arrive at the place Victor had sent her by the time he said, Victor would definitely be angry. And yet the moment she thought of Victor carrying her out of the fire back then, the unease in Chloe's heart gradually settled down again. She thought, no, he loves me too much. He even dared to charge into a fire for me. So how could he possibly give up on me over something like this? Time passed little by little. Victor looked at the empty spot in front of him. 10 minutes passed, then another 10 minutes, and Chloe still did not appear. By then, a full hour had already passed since the time they agreed on. Victor was disappointed, but not all that disappointed. He had wanted to break up with her in person, but sadly, someone clearly did not want a clean ending. With that thought, Victor lowered his head and posted the message he had already prepared to his moments. A few minutes later, Kingsley University's campus network exploded again because someone had screenshotted his post, and the only thing it said was, "Happily single." Victor ignored the campus network as it erupted once more and headed straight for the airport. After arriving at the airport, Victor told the driver to take the car back to the villa, gave Mrs. Martha instructions about where he was going, then turned off his phone and boarded the plane. It was only 3 hours after Victor boarded that Chloe finally left the hospital. But what she never expected was that the news waiting for her would be Victor's announcement that he was single. So she opened Victor's moments in disbelief. What greeted her, however, was only a cold horizontal line. The moment she saw that, Chloe froze and could not help wondering whether Victor had blocked her or deleted her outright. With that thought, she hurriedly dialed Victor's number in a panic. But all that came from the other end was the same cold mechanical voice repeating itself again and again. Chloe had no idea where she stood anymore. She only felt that the moment she could no longer reach Victor, her whole world had been completely overturned. Everything before her eyes seemed to lose its color in an instant. Clinging to the very last shred of hope, she rushed to the address Victor had sent her. Chloe looked around in every direction, hoping to catch sight of Victor, but he was not there. Crowds passed back and forth, Yet Victor alone was missing. This cafe had been opened by Chloe specifically for Victor, and it was also the place where they went on dates most often. Chloe stared at the familiar place before her, as if every table still held the image of her and Victor chatting freely and smiling at each other during their dates. But the fantasy shattered in an instant. Chloe found a staff member and, pretending to stay calm, asked where Victor had gone. The employee told her, "Mr. Victor sat here for 2 hours before leaving, and he did not order anything." Unwilling to give up, Chloe pressed on. "When did he leave?" The employee thought for a moment before answering. "Let me think, probably around 10:30. Thinking about that time, Chloe lowered her head and looked at her phone. The message on it clearly said they were supposed to meet at the cafe at 9:30, yet it was already 2 in the afternoon. And after arriving on time, Victor had still waited for her for an entire extra hour. Chloe could not help wondering what Victor had been thinking during that hour. What kind of resolve had he made for him to go through that full hour of waiting without trying to contact her even once? As much as she did not want to admit it, at this very moment, all the certainty she had arrogantly clung to began to crack apart. She finally started to realize that Victor was truly angry this time. She thought in pain, the way Victor is acting now, does this mean he really does not want me anymore? The moment that thought appeared, Chloe's eyes began to sting, and her hands started trembling uncontrollably. She returned to the car like a walking corpse, but her shaking hands kept dialing Victor's number over and over again. She had no idea how much time had passed when the other phone on the passenger seat also started vibrating. It was probably because Leo could not reach her on her main phone, so he called her backup one instead. But Chloe had no desire to answer at all. Her chest felt tight, her head throbbed, and her eyes burned, to the point that even blinking felt unbearably difficult, while her mind remained completely blank. Chloe wanted to drive to Victor's house to find him, only to realize that the hand gripping the steering wheel did not have even the slightest strength left. While Chloe sat there in a daze for those few seconds, her best friend called. Chloe answered in a rush, and the very first words out of her mouth were, "Help me." The friend on the other end froze for a moment, then sighed and agreed. After telling her friend where she was, Chloe finally seemed to find an outlet for everything she was holding in and murmured painfully, "I can't reach Victor anymore. I didn't know things would turn out like this. He must be heartbroken, so he doesn't want to talk to me anymore." From the other end of the line, her friend's voice came slowly. "It's not that you didn't know. You just wanted it both ways. Chloe, if it weren't for the fact that we grew up together, I'd look down on you too for what you did." Her friend's words were harsh, but Chloe did not argue back. She lowered her head and kept asking herself why she had done something that betrayed Victor and when exactly it had all started. She suddenly realized that even though Victor was the kind of golden child everyone admired and praised, in his eyes, she had always been the one who mattered most. No matter when, no matter where, as long as she was there, Victor's gaze would always fall on her. Whenever she needed him, Victor would appear by her side without a second thought. He never threw tantrums, never made demands, and simply gave and gave without complaint. Over time, the Victor who seemed sharp and dazzling in everyone else's eyes had smoothed away every edge when it came to her. So when Leo appeared, someone whose personality was completely different from Victor's, Chloe began to drift. Compared to Victor, who seemed to want nothing at all, Leo was simply too easy to satisfy. With just the tiniest scrap of kindness from her, he could stay happy for an entire month. That unfamiliar ego boost gradually made her stop resisting Leo's deliberate attempts to get close. She began to waver, began lying to Victor, and began spending more and more of her time on Leo. But what had Victor ever done wrong? Never in her life had Chloe realized so clearly how vile and shameful she truly was. She collapsed weakly against the driver's seat. Where her best friend arrived, what she saw was Chloe looking half dead and utterly broken. Catching the smell of disinfectant on her, the friend raised a hand to cover her nose in disgust. "Don't tell me you were planning to see Victor dressed in those filthy clothes." Only after hearing her friend's voice did Chloe finally come back to herself. A moment later, she forced a bitter smile. "I'll clean myself up before I go find him." Seeing her like this, her friend could not bear to say much more. So she took her to a hotel first to wash up and get changed, and only then headed for Victor's house. But after the two of them waited outside Victor's home for half an hour, no one came out. Left with no choice, Chloe stepped forward uneasily and tried to unlock the door with her fingerprint. But the moment she placed her finger on it, the system told her the scan had failed. Hearing that mechanical voice, Chloe froze on the spot. She refused to give up and wanted to try again. But just then, Mrs. Martha's voice came from behind her. Miss Chloe. Hearing that, Chloe immediately walked over to her. Mrs. Martha, I'm here to see Victor. Mrs. Martha answered honestly, I know. Young master has already gone away on a trip. He won't be home for a while, and I don't know when he'll come back. And I'm leaving the country for a trip tomorrow as well, so there's no need for you to come here anymore. Seeing Mrs. Martha turn to go inside after saying that, Chloe quickly stopped her. Almost pleading, she said, Mrs. Martha, could you please call Victor for me? I need to talk to him, please. Mrs. Martha removed Chloe's hand and said coldly, this is young master's decision. I can't help you. Miss Chloe, you've known young master for so many years. You should know his temper. Ask yourself what exactly you did to make our young master this determined. And our young master has never been treated so poorly in all his life. You're the first person who ever made him cry. I hope you won't regret it when the time comes. Chloe felt as though something was lodged in her throat, and for a long time, she could not say a single word. As for Mrs. Martha's question, she had no answer and was too ashamed to give one. As the door in front of her shut once again, tears finally spilled from Chloe's reddened eyes. Her tightly clenched fingers turned pale, and her whole body looked ready to collapse. Her best friend took in the sight of her completely, but in the end, all she could do was let out a sigh. Both of them knew very well that there was no way they were going to see Victor today. As for what would happen in the future, Chloe did not even dare to think about it. Meanwhile, after Victor's plane landed at the Port City International Airport, he unexpectedly ran into a pot-bellied man harassing a young woman. The man had clearly been trying to get her contact information, and after being rejected, he deliberately started touching her, then went even further and openly slandered her as a gold digger. Everyone around them was just standing there watching the show, and Victor simply could not stand by any longer, so he stepped in to help. But after only a few exchanges, the man completely lost it and started cursing at him. Victor did not indulge him either and threw hands on the spot. It did not take long before airport security hurried over and surrounded them both. At the same time, inside a nearby VIP lounge, several pairs of eyes had been quietly taking in everything happening outside. Mia lounged lazily on the sofa and said, that guy really has a sharp tongue. Vivian replied at just the right moment, he does, but I'm afraid trouble is coming next. Throwing a punch at the city's airport was not exactly a huge matter, but it was not a small one either. If the man who got beaten refused to let it go, then Victor would probably end up spending a few days at the station. Mia said with interest, Viv, are you gonna play the hero? But Vivian sounded completely confident. Relax, he doesn't need it. Hearing that, Mia frowned and was about to say something else when she saw Victor make a phone call in the distance. Right after that, the head of security picked up his radio and said a few words, then respectfully made a gesture for Victor to go ahead. After Victor left, they dragged away the man, who was kneeling on the ground and in too much pain to even stand. Mia asked in confusion, Vivian, how did you know he'd be fine? Vivian analyzed it calmly. When that guy got off the plane, airline staff personally escorted him out. If even the staff treated him with that much importance, it did not just mean he was rich. It meant he definitely had another identity behind him. Outside the airport, because the girl was so enthusiastic and insisted on treating Victor to a meal, he found it hard to refuse outright. By the time Victor finished checking into the hotel, it was already 8 at night. Looking at the phone whose battery was draining fast from the non-stop incoming calls, Victor frowned in disgust. Then, while charging his phone, he called his parents to let them know he was safe. The next day, his parents called again and told Victor to give his hotel address to his older sister, Selena, so she could send some things over to him. After he hung up, he looked at the number that had slipped in again at the perfect moment and clicked his tongue impatiently. Even though it was an unfamiliar number, he did not need to think to know exactly who was calling. On the other end, Chloe had assumed Victor would not pick up this call either. But the next second, the call actually went through. Staring at the connected call screen, Chloe's heart skipped a beat. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Are you okay?" She could barely believe that the answered call in front of her was not just an illusion. It had not even been a full day, yet Chloe already looked like a wreck. There were dark circles beneath her bloodshot eyes, and she looked utterly drained. Victor could not see any of that from the other end of the line. Even if he could, he would not have cared. He only asked coldly, "Miss Chloe, aren't you tired?" Those 99 plus missed calls. If his phone had not been made well enough, Victor felt it probably would have crashed by now. But Chloe did not answer. She only asked anxiously, "Where are you? I'll come find you. Whatever it is, can we talk it out face to face?" But Victor only looked utterly indifferent and asked coldly, "What exactly is there left for you to say to me? Are you going to tell me how you snuck around behind my back with Leo? Or tell me how thrilling your little forbidden affair felt? Or maybe you want to say that even after cheating on me, I'm still the one you love most? Chloe, your apology doesn't mean jack shit to me. Chloe hurriedly tried to explain, that's not how it is, Victor. Nothing substantial ever happened between Leo and me. At most, there was that hug. Other than that, there was nothing else. Please don't reject me like this. Just give me one chance, okay? She choked on her sobs, desperately trying to salvage what was left. From a moment she lost all trace of Victor yesterday, Chloe had felt as though her whole world had gone blank. There was only one thought left in her mind. The one who truly could not let go was her. Only by finding Victor did everything around her seem to still have any meaning at all. That was why she had been contacting him like a madwoman, only to end up with nothing but that one brutal line from him. It doesn't mean jack shit. Chloe had not even managed to say everything she wanted before the phone was filled with the cold beeping of a disconnected line. She instinctively called back, only to realize Victor had already blocked this number too. With no other choice, she switched to another phone and dialed again. Victor looked at the phone that was ringing yet again, and only because he remembered what he had promised his parents did he stop himself from turning it off altogether. So the first thing he did after heading out was go to Service Center and get a new SIM card. Then he sent the new number to his parents and the others, and suspended the old one. Only after finishing all that did Victor follow the map's recommendation and arrive at the entrance to a bar. A few minutes later, Mia followed the bartender over toward him. At that moment, Victor was sitting on a bar stool at the counter, absently playing with his phone. Mia raised her eyes and let out a yawn, then suddenly stopped in her tracks and widened her eyes. No way. It can't be this much of a coincidence. Her heart skipped slightly, and then she leaned casually against Victor's side. I'm the person in charge of this bar, she said. So, handsome, what do you need me for? Victor lifted a hand and pointed ahead. I'm reserving that whole stretch of seaside booths. It was only after entering the bar that Victor realized the end of that stone-paved street was actually the coastline itself. From the seats over there, you could take in the entire view of the shore in one glance. Victor had a bit of an odd habit. He liked finding quiet in the middle of chaos. Mia followed Victor's gaze toward the west side of the bar, then laughed. You're pretty domineering. That whole section is the best spot in the bar, and you want to take all of it for yourself. If you weren't so handsome, I'd be tempted to throw you out myself. Victor glanced at her, and the next second, a card appeared in his hand, as if by magic. He said flatly, I'm offering you a payday. You in or out? Mia stared at the card in Victor's hand, then smiled until her eyes narrowed. She took the card and handed it to the server behind her, only then asking Victor how many seats he wanted. Victor answered directly within 10 meters. Mia agreed crisply, gave someone a look, and people immediately went to clear the tables. Not long after, someone came over to guide Victor and led him to the floor-to-ceiling window area. The young bartender asked in confusion, Mia, why did you agree to that? It's not like the bar is short on money. Hearing that, Mia glanced at him. She thought back to Victor at the airport and to how a certain woman's eyes had been glued to him and refused to move away. Before replying meaningfully, I'm afraid someone will curse me out. By the time Mia had walked away, the bartender who asked the question finally understood what she meant. Mia, however, could not care less about what the people in the bar thought. She strode into the elevator and went up to the second floor, then hurried straight into a private room. She said excitedly to the people inside, guess what just ran in it downstairs? But the moment she opened the door, she found that the two people inside had already fallen asleep. At the sight of that, she curled her lips, allowed a lazy yawn, and closed her eyes as well. Half an hour later, Luna finally patted her awake. Come downstairs. Time to eat. Still yawning, Mia followed the other two out in a sleepy haze. The moment she stepped out of the room, she suddenly snapped awake and was just about to speak when she saw Vivian standing ahead, looking down at the floor below. Noticing her line of sight, Mia smacked her forehead and said to Vivian, Viv, I forgot to tell you, that whole area's been booked by that guy. As it turned out, the bar counter area where they usually ate also happened to fall within Victor's 10-meter range. At that moment, 1/3 of the guests in the hall were lined up in front of Victor's section. Even the people who were not lining up had their attention fixed on him. Even quite a few guys had gone over there to join the excitement. And Victor turned no one away. As long as they lined up, and as long as they were hot enough, anyone could sit across from him and play around. If they won, they could get his contact information. If they lost, they had to run one lap along the shore outside. In just a short time Mia and the others had been standing there, 2 more girls had already run out. Only then did they finally realize what was happening downstairs. Mia could not help exclaiming, this guy really knows how to have fun. Luna, standing beside her, offered no comment. Vivian, on the other hand, had already withdrawn her gaze and started walking toward the elevator. For some reason, Mia suddenly felt a chill in the air. She deliberately bumped Luna. "Don't you feel like something's off?" Luna looked at her speechlessly. "What's off is your brain. You even sold off the place where we eat. Why don't you donate your brain while you're at it?" Vivian disliked having the smell of food in a private room, which was why they usually ate on the first floor. Mia clearly knew why Luna was upset and hurried after her to make peace. She grabbed Luna and said, "I'll go talk to him and borrow a table for us to eat at." Mia did not take Luna's coldness to heart. After getting downstairs, she quickly walked toward Victor. She greeted Victor first, then sat down across from him. "Drinks are free today. Mind lending us a table so we can eat?" After getting Victor's nod, Mia immediately went to the booth next to him and waved to Vivian and Luna. Luna muttered in disgust. She's one of the owners of this place, and now she has to borrow a seat from a customer just to eat. This is all Mia's doing. As for Vivian, she looked completely unaffected. She withdrew her gaze from Victor's direction, then walked over and sat down beside Mia. While waiting for the food to arrive, Mia leaned over the sofa closest to Victor and watched Victor play dice with the people who came over to flirt with him. As time passed second by second, there were fewer and fewer people left in front of Victor, yet not a single one of them had managed to beat him. Seeing that, Victor let out a bored yawn and got to his feet, ready to leave. When Mia saw him move, she froze for a second before hurriedly speaking up. "You're leaving? Was it too boring? How about playing with us instead? Vivian is really good at dice." Hearing that, Victor stopped in his tracks. He turned his head and let his gaze fall on the woman who was looking down at her phone. To be honest, out of every woman Victor had ever met, she was exactly his type. As if sensing his gaze, Vivian, who had been looking at her phone, lifted her eyes and looked back at him. When their eyes met, Victor gave her an open, easy nod, then stepped over to stand in front of her. "Want to play?" Hearing that, Vivian let out a light laugh and knowingly asked, "Play what?" There had been such a huge commotion on Victor's side that it was possible she really had not noticed, considering she had been busy with her phone the whole time. Thinking that, Victor instantly lost all interest. After all, he had only come over because this woman's gaze had happened to fall on him. Since she was not interested, there was no point playing anymore. Thinking that, Victor gave her an apologetic smile. "Sorry, didn't mean to bother you." With that, he turned and started to leave. Vivian watched his retreating back, and for some reason, her heart tightened. The word play nearly slipped out her mouth. Victor heard it, but he still pretended he had not. Mia, however, had no intention of letting him leave just like that. She hurried over and stopped him in his tracks. In a rush, she blurted out, "Play, play, play." Who said she'll play? Victor looked at her gently. "I'm not playing with her. How about I play with you instead?" Hearing that, Mia froze on the spot. But the next second, she caught Vivian's look and instantly understood. She immediately shook her head hard. "I can't play. You should play with Vivian. She's really good." Her words sounded flattering, but her eyes were full of pleading. God knew Vivian rarely gave anyone a second glance. If she ruined this over something stupid, the big shots around Vivian would probably skin her alive. Even though it was only their first meeting, Victor caught her meaning almost instantly. He was not too thrilled about it, so he tried to refuse politely. "But she doesn't look like she wants to play with me." Mia hurried to explain, "How is that possible? She just likes to act all aloof, you know?" Victor laughed without thinking, then turned to look back at Vivian. She had gone visibly stiff from that remark, and yet she was still trying to keep a straight face, as if nothing had happened. That only made Victor laugh even more openly. After sitting back down across from her, he shook the dice cup on the table, then asked, "How are we playing this?" Vivian leaned forward slightly. "Best 2 out of 3. Your rules. Loser goes outside and runs a lap. Winner gets the other person's contact." Victor nodded. "Works for me. Big or small." Vivian did not argue over it and let him choose. Victor said directly, then small. "You first." Vivian did not decline again. She picked up the dice cup and casually gave it 2 or 3 shakes in her hand, then stopped and set on the table. After that, she made a polite gesture for Victor to go ahead. Victor only gave his cup a few casual shakes before setting it down as well. And it really did turn out exactly the way Mia said. Even when Victor rolled triple ones every round, Vivian somehow stacked all 3 dice on top of each other so that only a single one showed. Victor had no comeback. A bet was a bet, so he immediately stood up to go run his lap. The moment he moved, Vivian shot Mia a look. Mia instantly got the message and jumped up to stop him again. "Wait, handsome, hold on." Victor turned back to her. "What? You ladies feeling generous and not planning to make me run?" Mia quickly explained, "Of course not. We won, so we want her contact." Hearing that, Victor could no longer keep playing dumb and could only take out his phone. After he and Vivian saved each other's contact info, Mia immediately joined in too. I'm adding you too. I definitely can't beat you at dice, so how about this? Every time you come here from now on, your drinks are on the house. Victor let out a light laugh. Then you might as well just treat me to dinner. One look at Mia's personality, and he could already tell she definitely knew how to eat well. Following her lead, he probably would not have to worry about picking a bad place. At that, Mia quickly scanned his code. Then, beaming at him, she said, "Deal. My name's Mia. By the way, are you in Port City for vacation?" Victor hesitated for a moment. "For now, I guess so. Message me if you need anything. I'm heading back to rest. See you next time." Saying that, Victor stepped out of the bar before Mia could stop him. A few minutes later, seeing the thoughtful look on Vivian's face, Luna could not help asking, "What is it, Viv? Are you interested in him?" Vivian rubbed her aching brow and let out a soft sigh. "But he's not interested in me." Luna gave no direct answer and only glanced at Mia. "Looks to me like he was warmer to Mia than he was to you." That line startled Mia so badly that she nearly dropped the phone she was using to scroll through Victor's moments. With panic written all over her face, she said, "How is that possible? But now that I think about it, it kind of does seem that way. Victor really did look a little nicer to me than he did to Vivian." As she spoke, she held out her phone to Vivian. "Look, he just broke up. Going by his moments, it must have happened just a couple of days ago." Hearing that, Luna leaned in with disbelief written all over her face. "What? No way. There are actually people that blind?" Even if Victor's personality and looks were not really her type, she still could not bring herself to lie and say he was not a catch. But the moment Luna saw what Victor had posted, even she fell silent for a beat. "Wow, so there really are people that blind." Mia frowned and began piecing it together. So Victor came to Port City to get over heartbreak. Then she turned to Vivian with an excited look. "That is perfect, Viv. You can totally slide right in while the door is open." Looking at how worked up Mia was, Vivian could not help doubting herself a little. Was I really that obvious? Mia teased, "Not obvious at all. Other than the fact that from a second you saw Victor yesterday, you never wanted to take your eyes off him. And yesterday at the airport, you said he did not need our help, but you still contacted the airport manager and made things easier for him." When Vivian said that, she had clearly just finished sending the message herself. Mia had sharp eyes and caught the message at a glance. If Vivian's actions yesterday could still be brushed off as a sudden burst of kindness, then what she did today had truly gone beyond what the other two expected. That was why Mia had asked to borrow Victor's table, and why she had kept nudging things along so Victor and Vivian would play dice together. And the fact that Vivian had not refused only proved Mia had guessed right. Looking at the two women in front of her exchanging suggestive looks, Vivian shook her head helplessly, but she did not deny it. Vivian had never been in love before, but even she knew this much. What she felt for Victor was definitely not as simple as wanting to be ordinary friends. The loss of control in her heartbeat, the warmth burning through her body, all of it reminded her that these were feelings she had never experienced before. Thinking of that, she silently repeated Victor's name in her heart. After a long moment, under the teasing looks from Mia and Luna, the tips of Vivian's ears quietly turned red. In the end, she drew the line herself. "Do not bother him." Mia and Luna exchanged a glance, then both nodded. Luna understood that this kind of thing was better left to happen naturally. As for Mia, she figured that as long as she did not mention Vivian, asking Victor out again later would not count as going against Vivian's wishes. On the other side, after Victor left the bar, he quickly noticed that several hidden eyes were tracking his every move. Strangely enough, before he could even do anything, those stares vanished without a trace. He made a few more loops around the area, and only after confirming that those eyes in the dark had truly disappeared for good, did he finally hail a cab back to the hotel. After a quick wash-up, Victor took his phone and stepped out onto the hotel balcony. He settled into the rocking chair, opened WeChat, and started replying to messages. The moment his friend saw the reply, a string of question marks came flying over, followed by a quick text rundown of everything that had happened that day. The campus forum blew up. All the photos and videos of Chloe and Leo are gone. I'm guessing Chloe had someone scrub them. On top of that, his friend also sent over a photo and then continued with another message. Chloe posted on the campus forum saying that what happened with Leo was just a misunderstanding. She also said you two are still solid and never broke up. A lot of people actually believed her. Staring at the messages his friend had sent, Victor fell into thought. He and Chloe had grown up together from childhood. They had also dated for years. On top of that, their looks, family backgrounds, and abilities all matched each other perfectly. So in the eyes of the students at Kingsley University, the two of them had always been a match made in heaven. After the photos from Victor's moments blew up that day, A lot of people refused to believe them. They thought someone had deliberately edited the pictures and was trying to stir up trouble. But after Chloe posted that statement today, even more people became convinced that she and Victor had never broken up. Victor opened the photo a friend had sent him. It was a screenshot of Chloe's statement. It read, "Thank you all for your concern, but Victor and I are still in a stable relationship. As for the photos from the other day, they were simply the result of stepping in to help someone. Please stop spreading those photos and videos with malicious intent, or I will take action to protect my personal rights and interests." It was a short statement, righteous and polished enough that no one could really find fault with it. Victor curled his lips, replied to his friend with a few messages, then opened the campus forum. Because the topic was still hot, Chloe's post was still sitting at the top. He did not even need to search for it. He clicked into the comments. Then he directly typed, "I am currently single." Chloe's claim that our relationship is still stable is nothing but a lie she made up herself. Also, the photos and videos of Chloe and Leo embracing romantically in the rain were originally exposed by me. Wishing them both the best, they truly deserve each other. After sending that message, Victor figured that since Chloe was so determined to disgust him, there was no reason for him to stay polite. So he copied the same message, posted it on his own page, and tagged Chloe and Leo while he was at it. After doing all that, he felt completely refreshed. He played on his phone for a while, then went back to his room and fell asleep. Meanwhile, when Chloe saw his reply, her face turned so dark it was almost unrecognizable. She immediately opened their private chat on the campus network. "Victor, where are you? Do you really have to be this heartless? For the sake of everything we've had all these years, can you give me one chance to explain?" She waited for a long time, but still got no reply from him. Weak with heartache, Chloe slumped against the sofa. After grabbing the wine on the table and draining it in one gulp, she sent him another message. "It's okay if you do not want to meet. Leo can explain everything to you right now, okay? I just wanted you to care a little more about me. He and I only hugged that one day. Victor, I only love you. I never want to break up with you. Please do not be so cruel and leave me." After sending that message, Chloe slid down the sofa and collapsed onto the carpet. She had no idea which side had stepped in, but whoever it was, she could not track down his location at all now. He had vanished from her life just like that, without giving her even the slightest chance to catch her breath. Chloe was suffering every second, reduced to rereading their old chat history and hoping that the very next moment she would receive a message from him. She thought that even if he cursed her or hit her, it would still be better than this total silence. Yet when she really did receive such cold, merciless words from him, her heart still felt like it was being cut apart. Chloe closed her eyes as tears streamed down from the corners of them. "Victor, I really do know I was wrong. Why can't you soften your heart for me? Even just a little. You love me so much." Ever since dropping that bombshell on the campus network that day, Victor had barely paid attention to any news coming out of the capital. That day, he took a nap in the afternoon while it was raining. The moment he woke up, he saw a message from Mia. They had only met once, so he honestly had not expected her to be this proactive. Thinking that, Victor opened her chat window. It said, "Victor, want to come out and have some fun? I'm hosting a gathering at the estate. The scenery is great. Interested?" He had only just tapped into the chat box when Mia immediately saw the typing indicator on her side and hurriedly sent another message. Come on. They're all pretty easygoing people from our circle. I absolutely won't let them ruin your mood." Seeing that, Victor thought it over for a moment. Then he deleted the words "not going." She had already thought things through this much, and he happened to have nothing else to do. Going out for a bit did not sound bad, so he told her to send him the time and location. The moment she saw that he had agreed, Mia grinned from ear to ear. Her fingers flew over the keyboard. "We're leaving in an hour. That place is private property, so outside cars can't get in. I'll come pick you up. Of course, if you don't want that, I can wait for you at the entrance instead." Since he had already agreed to go out with her, Victor did not really care about exposing where he lived. With a low family status in Port City, if they truly wanted to find out, they would not fail. So he directly sent her his location. An hour passed quickly. Victor had just gotten up when Mia sent another message, adding that she was downstairs. Only after telling his sister Selena where he was going did Victor take the elevator downstairs. When he walked out of the hotel, Mia spotted him at a glance. She first leaned halfway out the car window, then immediately realized that was not very proper and hurriedly ducked back inside. After that, she opened the car door. Honestly, even if Mia had not greeted him, Victor still would have noticed her. That white Range Rover was impossible to miss. Victor walked over to the car quickly, hesitating over whether he should sit in the front or the back. Mia directly opened the rear door for him, then said, "The front seat is reserved for a certain VIP. so I can only trouble you to sit in the back." "Sorry about that." Victor nodded and thanked her. Just as he was about to get in, a pair of hands entered his field of vision. Victor's gaze traveled upward, and his eyes met the gaze of the person inside the car. Even meeting her again now, he was still stunned by Vivian's looks. She really was born too perfect. Vivian smiled softly. "Need a hand?" Hearing that, Victor could not quite figure out what she was thinking. He looked at her hand, then at her face, and in the end, he openly rested his hand on her forearm. Once he was seated firmly inside, he started fastening his seatbelt. Meanwhile, Vivian kept staring fixedly at the exact spot where his hand had just landed. She thought Victor's hand felt warm, and when he touched her just now, it made her heart itch in a strange way. Even her body trembled slightly. Vivian felt that something about her was off, as if her whole body were about to catch fire. She pressed her lips together, felt the heat rising in her ears, and quickly turned to look out the window, trying to hide it. Mia took in everything happening in the back seat and secretly laughed to herself a few times. Then she started humming a tune and started the car. On the way there, Victor's grip on the seat belt tightened a little. Vivian, who had already calmed down, sharply noticed his movement. She frowned and thought for a moment, then lifted her foot and lightly tapped the seat in front of her. Looking at Mia, who was driving, she said, "Drive slower." Then she turned to Victor with concern. "Victor, are you feeling unwell?" Victor pressed his forehead with his right hand and said softly, "Oh, I get carsick. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I won't throw up. I just get dizzy." The moment Mia heard that, she immediately slowed down even more. Sensing what she was doing, Victor quickly stopped her. "Just drive at your normal speed. Better one sharp pain than dragging it out." Mia looked a little doubtful, but after seeing the certainty in his eyes, she had no choice but to speed back up. A few minutes later, Vivian suddenly had the car stop again. Before long, someone who had been waiting by the roadside stepped forward and handed over a shopping bag. Vivian took it. She opened it and checked inside, making sure it was what she wanted. Only then did she take out one of the items and hand it to Victor. "Honey grapefruit lemon tea. It'll help ease some of the discomfort." Victor froze for a second, then pointed at himself. "This is for me?" Vivian teased. "You're the only one in this car who needs it." He smiled at her politely. "Then I won't be shy about it." "Thank you." He then took the cup from her hand. As she watched him tilt his head back to drink, his throat moving with each swallow, Vivian found herself spacing out for a moment. After he finished, she took out a box of medicine from a bag and handed it to him. Motion sickness pills. Unopened. Now Victor truly felt a little embarrassed. Recalling her name, he turned to look at her. "Vivian, are you always this thoughtful and considerate?" The moment Mia in the front seat heard that, she burst out laughing. Vivian, thoughtful? That was the funniest joke Mia had heard in her entire life. But Vivian in the back seat showed no guilt, nor did she answer his question. Instead, she said with a smile, "There's still an hour left before we reach our destination. If you take the medicine now, the second half of the ride won't be as rough." Victor nodded. He popped out a pill and swallowed it with his head tilted back. Then he leaned against the seat to rest. As for whether Vivian was actually a thoughtful person, they were only strangers who had met by chance. To him, it didn't really matter that much. Time passed little by little, and his breathing gradually became steadier. His head slowly tilted with the motion of the car. Just as it was about to hit the window, Vivian turned sideways and instinctively reached out her hand. Her hand slipped between his head and the glass. In the next second, his forehead landed steadily in her palm. Only when she lowered her gaze and saw his face, so close did Vivian realize how abrupt her action had been. She unconsciously held her breath, afraid of disturbing him while he slept. But at that moment, Vivian suddenly felt as though her heartbeat no longer belonged to her. Thump after thump, it exposed every bit of her nervousness and helpless confusion. When Victor opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Vivian sitting there, her expression tense. The distance between them was so close that it wasn't just Vivian who caught his scent. Victor could smell the sandalwood fragrance on her as well. Her arm was stretched right in front of him. The place where his forehead had rested still felt warm. He shifted slightly, moving his head away and freeing her hand. Vivian pulled her hand back, a trace of panic on her face. Lowering her eyes, she said apologetically, "Sorry, I disturbed your rest." Victor shook his head and studied her features. Then he let out a soft laugh. "I really like sandalwood too." Among perfume notes, sandalwood was something he could almost call an obsession. Because of that, he had even given Chloe perfumes that contained sandalwood notes. Unfortunately, every time he gave one to Chloe, she never used it. But the Vivian in front of him made him feel certain that his taste was right. A cool, distant woman suited this kind of woody fragrance perfectly. After thinking about it, his eyes lit up. He looked at Vivian with delight. I have a perfume that would suit you perfectly, but I didn't bring it with me. I can have someone send it over another day. Can I give it to you then? Hearing that, Vivian stared straight into his eyes. Only after a long while did she force herself to look away. Do you often give people gifts, Victor? He answered slowly, no. But your looks and your aura really match that perfume. I had it custom made. It's one of a kind in the world. Want it? Since Vivian hadn't given him a clear answer earlier, he asked again. As the seconds passed, Mia, who was driving in the front seat, could only feel that the atmosphere inside the car had become strangely intimate. Even so, she wisely chose not to interrupt. After a while, Vivian finally suppressed the urge to let the corners of her lips rise. Looking at him, she nodded. Then it's a deal. As she said that, Victor immediately asked her for her address on his phone. Mia drove on for a little while longer, then reminded the two of them, that little tyrant has arrived. As soon as she said that, the car stopped at a fork in the road, where two other cars were already parked. Seeing them, a young boy ran over. His face was full of obvious displeasure as he pointed angrily at Mia. Nice one, Mia. You actually didn't come pick me up. But the moment he saw who was sitting in the back seat, he immediately straightened up. Then he quickly put on a flattering smile. Long time no see, Vivian. Vivian only gave him a calm glance and said nothing. But that one glance alone was enough to send a chill down Zach's spine. Ever since he was little, Zach had feared nothing, not even throwing hands with his own old man. But Vivian was the one person he feared down to his bones. If he had known Vivian was coming to today's gathering, he definitely would have found an excuse to back out. He looked at Mia beside him in a panic. Wasn't it said Vivian wasn't coming? Why did she suddenly show up? Shrinking his neck, Zach tried to retreat behind the others. But as he shifted his feet, he noticed someone else getting out of the car. After everyone was introduced, he greeted Victor, and he seemed like the easygoing, familiar type. After only a few exchanges, he started asking whether Victor had an older brother or sister at home. Victor blinked and was just about to answer, when a voice suddenly came from behind them. What are you talking about? The voice was so cold that even Victor felt goosebumps rising just from hearing it. Zach, who had just been wiggling his brows at Victor a moment ago, instantly looked like someone had grabbed him by the throat the second he heard that voice. Forcing himself to stay calm, he replied, "Nothing much." "But why? Are you that interested in what I'm talking about?" As he spoke, his eyes rolled. He shot Victor a glance, and then flashed a grin, before running off. Seeing Victor left awkwardly on his own, Vivian called out to him from not far away. Victor turned toward the sound, only to see Vivian leaning against the Range Rover and crooking a finger at him, her lips seeming to tell him to come over. Victor had to admit the sight was easy on the eyes. But why did it feel like she was calling over a dog? Muttering under his breath, Victor walked over at an unhurried pace. Vivian kept her eyes on his moving lips, and only when he got close did she ask, "What were you saying just now?" Hearing that, Victor's expression froze at once. He wondered if Vivian's hearing was really that sharp. He was pretty sure he hadn't even made a sound. From his conflicted expression alone, Vivian easily guessed what he was thinking. With a faint smile, she explained in an even tone, "I saw it, not heard it." Only then did Victor come to a sudden realization. He turned and found a place beside her to lean against. Nothing. If Vivian had really heard what he had been thinking just now, and actually started treating him like a dog, would he have any dignity left at all? Vivian could naturally tell that this was an obvious brush-off. So she changed the subject. After getting out and resting for a bit, "Do you feel better?" Victor turned to meet her gaze and answered softly, "I'm fine. I don't feel that bad anymore." In truth, after drinking the honey water and taking a short nap, he was already much better. Now the medicine was probably kicking in, and with the fresh air outside the car, he barely felt carsick at all anymore. Hearing that, the smile at Vivian's lips deepened a little more. In the end, neither of them said anything else. They simply lifted their heads in unspoken sync and looked up at the sky before them. After a while, Zach in the distance had already started fooling around with the others. Looking left and right, he ultimately chose to run to Mia and complain. When he passed in front of Vivian and Victor, he even deliberately sped up a little. Watching the young man brimming with energy, Victor couldn't help but smile. Vivian quickly noticed the smile on his face, so she turned toward him and looked at him curiously. "You like people with personalities like Zach's?" Vivian could tell that from Mia to Zach, Victor seemed to have no resistance to outgoing, lively people like them. Filled with curiosity and confusion, Victor asked softly, "How could you tell?" Vivian merely smiled faintly and answered calmly, "With my eyes." Victor replied half-jokingly, "Then your eyes are really good at seeing things." Don't you think people like them feel warm? Back when Victor had first arrived in the country, everything around him had felt out of place. He could speak Chinese, but compared with kids his age, his grasp of context and his speaking speed had lagged far behind. Maybe it was pride, but during that time, he had hated speaking in front of others, afraid they would see through his weakness. But there were always a few kids around him who kept insisting he come play with them. Maybe because they thought he looked good, they stayed patient and kept following him around even after he rejected them again and again. At first, when they noticed how slowly he spoke, they didn't laugh at him. Instead, they patiently waited for him to finish, and later they even helped him practice speaking faster. As time passed, and he grew used to everything, he eventually blended completely into the world around him, even though they barely kept in touch after graduation. Ever since then, when it came to people with that kind of personality, Victor had always felt an instinctive closeness toward them. While Victor was reminiscing about the past, Vivian, after hearing the word warm, began reflecting inwardly. Would Victor find a personality like mine warm? The answer was no. Other than Mia and a few others, there was almost no one in Port City who didn't fear her, and she was definitely not the kind of person people would describe as warm. Before long, the group set off again and arrived at the estate. After getting out of the car, everyone went off to do their own thing, leaving only Zach and Victor idle. Zach pulled Victor to a corner of the estate, then gave him a thumbs up. "Victor, you're seriously handsome. So for the sake of me praising you this much, can you tell me what your relationship with Vivian is?" Full of confusion, Victor couldn't help asking, "Why would you ask that?" Looking at him, Zach explained seriously, "Because you're the first guy around Vivian that she's ever treated differently." Hearing that, Victor was genuinely stunned. The first? Seriously? With a face like Vivian's, there should be no shortage of admirers, right? Zach nodded, his tone carrying obvious disbelief too. "Surprised, right? I was shocked too. Victor, how exactly did you win Vivian over?" The fact that he asked that made it obvious he had already decided Victor and Vivian weren't ordinary with each other. In Zach's mind, Vivian was cold, slow to warm up, and not exactly approachable. People like them could only show up in front of her because of their families and elders. But Victor was different. From what Zach had heard from Mia, Vivian had come today for his sake, even though she originally hadn't planned to attend the gathering. Even so, this was only the second time Victor and Vivian had ever met, at most. And just earlier, when everyone had gathered together, Vivian had even found an excuse to pull him in her car and personally drive him herself. Forget Zach. Even Mia and the others had never ridden in a car Vivian was driving. But Victor himself didn't seem to feel much about it. What are you even talking about? Me winning her over? Puzzled, he turned his head toward Vivian in the distance. As if sensing his gaze, she turned her eyes toward him as well. Their eyes met, and Victor smiled at her openly without the slightest attempt to hide it. Then he turned back to Zach. "Why would I be the one winning her over? Why can't it be that she wants to win me over?" Judging from Mia and the others' reactions, Victor wasn't dense enough not to notice that Vivian had thoughts about him. Hearing that, Zach let out a shocked yelp. "Victor, that's some huge confidence. Are you serious?" Seeing the stunned look on his face, Victor couldn't help laughing. He waved a hand and replied easily, "I'm messing with you. I'm not planning to have anything going on with Vivian right now, so don't overthink it." Seeing how calm he was, Zach immediately grew anxious. "You totally could, though. I was only asking out of curiosity. I didn't mean anything else by it." Then he added, "Already like someone. The one who came with me just now." Victor smiled faintly. "I know. No need to get nervous." Seeing Zach looking so flustered, Victor quickly tried to reassure him. At the same time, he found himself wondering just what Vivian had done to scare people this badly. Just then, familiar footsteps sounded from behind them. From where Zach stood, he could clearly see who was coming. But the second his gaze swept over, he ducked straight behind Victor. His voice trembled. "Victor, Vivian and Mia are coming over." Seeing how Zach looked like he wanted to shrink his entire body behind him, Mia almost laughed. And seeing everyone's reaction, Zach simply kept silent. He only knew one thing. As long as Victor was there, Vivian wouldn't pay too much attention to him. Sure enough, from the moment Vivian walked over until the moment she stopped, her gaze never left Victor. It wasn't until all four of them fell silent together that Vivian finally gave Zach a look. That single glance felt like a royal pardon to Zach, and he instantly took one huge step and bolted away. Seeing that, Victor twitched his lips. Looking at Vivian, he said, "You scared Zach off. Who's supposed to keep me entertained now?" Mia smoothly jumped in. "Vivian can keep you company. There just happens to be a swing over there. Vivian likes swings. Why don't you two go hang out? You two decide. I'm gonna go check on how the food prep is going." In the blink of an eye, The other two had already run off and vanished. Vivian wasn't in any hurry. She simply stood there quietly, her gaze occasionally falling on Victor. But seeing him staring absently at the scenery in front of him, she didn't interrupt. Half an hour later, it wasn't until Mia and the others called them to eat that Victor finally snapped out of it. Then he walked over together with Vivian. The food at the estate was all locally grown, and even the chickens, ducks, and geese had just been freshly slaughtered. The whole point was freshness. That group had even brought along an entire chef team. By the time dinner was over, it was already night. The others tacitly left Victor to Vivian. So the line of cars drove into Port City's urban district, then gradually split apart. In the end, only Vivian's car was still on the road. She slowed the car again and again, wishing the road would stretch a little longer, then longer still. But in the end, Victor couldn't hold out. His eyes drifted shut in a drowsy haze. Only then did she finally pick up speed. By the time they arrived at the hotel, Vivian got out of the car again and took the bag from the person waiting by the entrance. She handed it to Victor. "I had someone make you a cup of hawthorn juice, but just drink half. Too much might upset your stomach." Victor accepted it gladly. "All right, thanks for looking out for me, Vivian. Victor will head upstairs first. When you get home, send him a message so he knows you made it back safe." With that, Victor waved, then turned and walked into the hotel. Only after his figure had completely disappeared from sight did Vivian turn around, get back into the car, and leave. A few days later, weak, hoarse pleas echoed through a basement somewhere in Port City. The iron door at the entrance was pushed open, and someone already waiting there handed over a prepared pair of gloves. The assistant stood respectfully to the side. "Vivian, we got the answers we needed, and everything they captured has been cleaned up." Vivian asked coldly, "How much did they get?" The assistant immediately handed over a phone. Just some photos of Victor during his usual outings. The hotel where Victor is staying is fairly secure, so they hadn't managed to get any farther than that. Vivian took the phone and went through the photos one by one. When she saw Victor's smiling face in them, a faint blush rose to her cheeks without her noticing. But the moment she remembered how those photos had been obtained, her expression darkened. She deleted them one by one, making sure nothing would come back to cause trouble. Only then did she ask the assistant, who was behind it. The assistant bent slightly while reporting it was Ruby, the eldest of the Miller family's younger generation. Victor happened to go to a bar that day, and she was there too. Ruby is obsessed with looks, so taking an interest in Victor wasn't exactly surprising. Vivian started walking toward the room at the end of the hallway, then said coolly, "It has nothing to do with Victor's face." She had people follow him and take photos because that is just the kind of player she is. Once she entered the room, Vivian personally questioned those people one more time. After confirming there was no missing information, she removed the gloves and dropped them to the floor. Ignoring the ragged cries behind her, Vivian turned and walked out. Once outside, she instructed the assistant send over what they did along with the evidence. Let the higher-ups handle the rest. And one more thing, find time for the old man of the Miller family to come see me. If he cannot keep his people in line, Vivian will do it for him. The next day, Victor wriggled around under the covers for quite a while, but still could not force his eyes open. It was not until Selena called that Victor finally dragged himself out of bed. Selena's voice came through the phone. "Still asleep? It should already be noon over there in Kingsley City." Victor rubbed his tired eyes. Victor slept too well last night. Victor doesn't want to get up, but Selena's tone turned unusually serious. She said in a low voice, "Selena's people in Port City noticed someone has been following Victor these past few days." Once Selena heard, she had them look into who those people were. But 2 days ago, all of them disappeared. Just now, Selena's people got word that they had been taken in. Hearing that, Victor's eyes flew open. He sat up in bed. "Sis, was that not done by Selena's people?" Selena denied it immediately. Of course not. If it had been Selena's doing, would she be calling Victor to tell him about it? Victor frowned at that. While thinking over the truth, several familiar figures surfaced in Victor's mind. Selena sensed something and asked directly, "Does Victor know who did it?" Victor answered honestly, "Victor has a guess. Vivian and Mia both know Victor, and they had dinner together a few days ago. But whether this was actually their doing, Victor isn't sure." Selena was puzzled. Why would they help Victor? Because he is from a Shun family in Kingsley? Victor thought for a second, then shamelessly said, "No idea. Maybe Vivian wants to chase Victor?" Selena raised a question. Then why Vivian and not Mia? After a strange silence, Selena seriously considered it and decided it was not impossible. This time, Victor was the one who fell silent. A moment later, Victor finally said, "Maybe because Vivian is prettier than Mia." Selena paused, concern in her voice. "Vivian is unpredictable and the current head of the Gu family. Ordinary people cannot afford to cross her. Is Victor sure about dealing with her? And what about Chloe? Has Victor really let her go? In Selena's eyes, with Victor's personality, he should not have moved on from Chloe that quickly. Otherwise, Victor would not have left Kingsley City for Port City in the first place. The whole point was probably to stay away until Victor had fully let go of Chloe. But these things should not be solved by pulling another relationship into the equation. Instantly catching the meaning, Victor rolled his eyes. His tone was helpless and teasing. Sis, Victor went through a breakup, not a funeral. And since Chloe already did Victor wrong, why would Victor still be miserable? Victor will not hurt someone innocent because of her. Victor was not raised to stay hung up on some cheating piece of trash. Victor left Kingsley City because he simply wanted to come out and have fun. Victor just did not want to give Chloe more chances to keep clinging to Victor. Does that make sense? Hearing that, Selena felt relieved, knowing Victor would not lie to her. But once she thought of Vivian, who was now involved with Victor, that relief tightened right back up. Compared with Chloe, Vivian was simply far too dangerous. After reassuring his older sister, Victor used hunger as an excuse and ended the call. Then he opened the chat with Mia and asked about the stalking. But Mia said she did not know either. Then she directly called him. She said bluntly it was not Mia, but she thinks it might have been Vivian. Or even if it was not her, she could help find out. Why doesn't Victor ask her? The thing is, Vivian might be a little busy today and might not have time to answer messages. Mia was already going to see her anyway, so why not just take Victor over there? Victor thought to himself, did that even make sense? If Vivian was busy, would she really still have time for Victor? Victor asked directly, if Vivian is busy, would she really still have time for Victor? Mia slapped her forehead and explained with an obvious hint. No matter how busy Vivian is, she will still make time to see Victor. Is he going? Just go. Victor pretended not to get the hint. Sure, but Victor doesn't know the way. Send the address to Victor first. Mia answered lightly. No need to make it complicated. Mia will come pick Victor up. With that, she hung up. Half an hour later, Mia's car pulled into the Gu family estate. Once the car stopped, there was still a short walk before they reached the villa. Along the way, Victor caught that familiar scent of sandalwood several times. By the time they reached the front doors, they saw an elderly man standing there with a slight stoop and a woman kneeling right beside him. Victor's gaze swept over them briefly. He had his doubts, but he couldn't be bothered to ask. Mia stopped in front of the old man, gave a polite nod, and greeted him. Elder Miller. Elder Miller looked at her with a gentle smile. Is that you, Mia? Are you here to see Vivian? Mia nodded and replied with equal courtesy. Yes, I've got some business with her, so I'll head in first. Elder Miller managed a faint, forced smile. Mia gave a casual reply, though she couldn't help but notice his pale face and the sweat on his forehead. Out of the corner of his eye, Elder Miller noticed Victor standing next to Mia. Surprise flashed in his eyes. Which family is this young man from? He knew that anyone Mia personally brought to see Vivian had to be someone important. He was still trying to guess Victor's background, but he didn't notice his granddaughter kneeling beside him. The moment she saw Victor's face, she went completely stiff. Finally, Ruby understood why Vivian had suddenly moved against her family. But she'd only met Vivian once. Was it Mia who wanted him, or was it Vivian? Her heart sank when she realized she might be competing with Vivian over a man. She hadn't even done anything yet. She'd only asked for a few photos to check him out first. The more she thought, the paler she turned. Even her breathing felt tight. She hurriedly tugged on the old man's sleeve. Grandpa, I think I know why Vivian's coming after us. Meanwhile, Mia led Victor to the foyer outside the living room. She told him to wait there for a moment and went inside to announce him. Once in the room, she greeted the powerful figure seated there, then walked over to Vivian and lowered her voice. Victor's here to see you. I brought him over, and he's waiting in the foyer. Do you want to see him? Vivian had been looking through some documents, not paying much attention to Mia, but she slowly raised her head when she heard that name. Her gaze crossed the room and landed on the jade screen in the foyer. She handed the file to her assistant and calmly told her guests, "We'll stop here for today. You're all dismissed." In the Gu family, Vivian's word was law. It didn't matter how important the meeting was. When she said it was over, no one dared to stay. Soon, people began filing out of the living room. Victor kept a polite smile on his face and was about to step aside, but Vivian stepped into his line of sight first. She stopped a few feet away, holding back the urge to get closer. "Victor, I'm sorry to keep you waiting," she said softly. Victor shook his head. He could feel the curious stares from the people leaving, but he remained calm. "I haven't been waiting long. I came because I have something to ask you." Vivian gestured for him to enter. Victor stepped forward, passing her and walking straight into the living room. When the others saw Vivian following half a step behind him, someone couldn't help but whisper, "Who is that guy?" The assistant nearby heard and gave a sharp warning. "You don't know him. If it's not part of your job, don't ask." The man laughed awkwardly. "Sorry, I was just curious." His colleague urged him along. "Enough already. Let's go." The man wanted to defend himself, but when he felt the cold stares from the staff, he shut his mouth and hurried out. The foyer cleared out in an instant, leaving only Victor, Vivian, and Mia in the sprawling living room. Watching Vivian actually walking behind Victor, Mia shot her a knowing, playful smirk. She let out a long yawn and drifted lazily toward the exit. "I'm still half asleep. I'm going back for a nap." Once Mia was gone, Vivian turned toward another set of doors. She glanced back at Victor, her eyes calm and direct. "Follow me. The living room is for formal guests. I'll take you to the tea room." Victor tried to decline as politely as possible. "I just came to confirm one thing. You really don't have to go through all this trouble." He'd intended to leave immediately after getting his answer, but from Vivian's demeanor, it was clear she had no intention of letting him go so soon. Sure enough, she gave her excuse a second later. "It's no trouble at all. At the very least, I should host my guest of honor properly." They walked in silence, crossing a small, manicured garden. Once inside the adjacent tea room, Vivian gestured for him to take a seat before asking what kind of tea he preferred. Victor casually told her that anything was fine. He sat down across from her, watching as she warmed the cups and steeped the tea with effortless grace. He could tell this was a ritual she'd mastered long ago. The way the porcelain teacup danced between her fingertips was almost too elegant to look away from. As Victor watched, the urgency in his chest began to fade. He propped his head on his hand, observing with genuine interest as she prepared the brew. He settled in, waiting patiently for the final pour. Noticing his fascination, a faint smile played on Vivian's lips. After he finished his cup, she naturally refilled it for him. Then, she leaned slightly against the table, moving closer to him. "So, what exactly brings you here today?" Victor didn't beat around the bush. "I wanted to ask, were you the one who took care of the people tailing me?" He was only there to confirm his suspicions. In all of Port City, the only people he knew who had the power to act were Vivian and Mia. He'd already checked with Mia, and since she denied it, he'd come straight to Vivian. Vivian didn't play coy. She admitted it outright. "It was me." She continued, "When you walked in earlier, did you see the woman kneeling at the entrance? She's the one who hired people to follow you and snap those photos. Don't worry, I've already dealt with them." Victor's expression shifted slightly at the mention of snapping photos. Vivian added quickly, "I've already scrubbed all those pictures of your daily outings. There's nothing left to worry about." Victor thanked her sincerely, though he knew a simple thank you wasn't nearly enough. He followed it with a promise. "If you ever need anything, as long as it's within my power, I'll be there to help." Vivian nodded, accepting the offer. Then, abruptly changing the subject, she asked, "Have you eaten lunch yet?" Victor smiled. "Not yet. To be honest, I only woke up about 90 minutes ago." At that, Vivian stood up and smoothly extended an invitation. "Perfect. Lunch just finished being prepared. Let's go, Victor." The way she said his name sounded as if she had savored every syllable, lacing it with a tone that was hard to define but impossible to ignore. Victor found himself following her lead instinctively, his hand subconsciously reaching up to touch his slightly warm ear. A moment later, he spoke up, sounding a bit shy. "Actually, you can just call me Vic. That's what my family and close friends call me." Vivian stopped dead in her tracks. She turned around slowly, staring straight into his eyes. In the next second, she went on the offensive, calling out softly, "Vic." Victor was completely defenseless. The trace of obsession in her voice hit him with such force, it nearly shattered his composure on the spot. As she resumed walking, Victor had to press a hand to his chest to steady his racing heart. They reached the dining room, where several exquisite dishes were already laid out. They ate in relative silence, but the look of pure satisfaction on Victor's face said everything about the meal. When Mrs. Lee came over to clear the table, she gave him a warm, approving smile. "You've got a great appetite, young man." Victor stood up immediately, ever the gentleman. "Thank you, Mrs. Lee. It was incredible. It reminded me of my mother's cooking." The moment she heard that, Aunt Lee's eyes curved in a happy crescent. "Next time you come, make sure to tell Vivian ahead of time. Whatever you like to eat, have her let me know, and I'll make it for you." Victor nodded obediently and thanked her again in a sweet voice. "Thank you, Aunt Lee." But once Aunt Lee left with a satisfied smile, Vivian suddenly pressed the issue. "Vic, have you figured out when next time is supposed to be?" Victor froze for a second and looked up at her, only to meet that half-smiling, half-teasing expression on her face. He steadied himself and answered with a playful edge in his voice. "What? You're this enthusiastic now." Vivian lightly shook her head, though the smile was still lingering on her lips. "I'm just afraid Aunt Lee will be disappointed in you." Victor naturally understood what she really meant, so he followed her lead. "Whether Aunt Lee ends up disappointed or not doesn't depend on me. It depends on you. As long as you invite me, I'll come." The instant she heard that, Vivian's eyes lit up. She tested the waters and said, "Then come every day." Victor arched a brow, then still shook his head and turned her down, deliberately ignoring the flicker of disappointment in her eyes. He pulled out a tissue and wiped his mouth, then stood up and said, "I'm full. Thanks for the meal. I'll head back now. Bye, Vivian." But even though Vivian said goodbye too, her body had already moved on instinct to follow him, making it painfully obvious that she wanted to drive him back herself. Victor could only glance at her in polite protest. "Aren't you busy? I can just get a cab." Vivian stepped right in front of him anyway, then bent slightly at the waist in an unusually awkward way. "I am busy, but I want to take you. If I don't put in the effort and still get turned down by you, I'm going to look ridiculous." Hearing that, Victor's mouth twitched. He gave her a thumbs up on the spot. "I appreciate the effort. Then do your best." With that, he turned and left without another word. Yet the whole way back, Vivian kept turning those two words over and over in her mind. Do your best? What exactly was she supposed to do to make Victor willing to come here for meals every single day? And if she let herself be even greedier, what would it take to make him stay by her side every day, every moment? By the time Vivian returned to the Gu family estate, she found Aunt Lee still sitting on the sofa waiting for her, even though she was supposed to be resting. Vivian softened her voice and asked, "Aunt Lee, why aren't you resting yet?" Aunt Lee rose to her feet, then looked at her with loving eyes. "I was waiting for you. That young man today, is he the one you like?" The moment she heard that, Vivian visibly softened and then gave a small nod. Seeing that, Aunt Lee hurried to ask the next question. "And what about him? Does he like you?" She let out a sigh and could not help muttering, "With that personality of yours, hardly any boys ever dared like you growing up. But since you finally fell for someone, Vivian, of course you have to treat him well. If he ever comes to ask for your hand one day, don't forget to bring out the things your mother left behind for her future son-in-law." Seeing Aunt Lee get more outrageous with every word, Vivian quickly cut her off. "Aunt Lee, I don't even know whether he'll ever like me back. Isn't it way too early to be talking about this?" The moment those words came out, all of Aunt Lee's beautiful little fantasies shattered on the spot. She shot Vivian a look of pure disdain. "You're really hopeless." Vivian lowered her eyes, rare disappointment showing on her face. "He only came to Port City for a trip. Before long, he'll probably leave." Aunt Lee immediately tried to encourage her. "So what? If he won't make the first move, can't you? Go after him. Once you win him over, he can always move to Port City later." But Vivian gently shook her head. "That's not how it works." She rubbed her brow with quiet helplessness. Mia had said something similar before too. It was as if everyone automatically assumed that once she and Victor got together, Victor should give up his old life and stay in Port City for her. But that would not be fair to Victor. Neither of them belonged to the other. They were both free people who should be able to go wherever they wanted. Aunt Lee, Victor is free. Wherever he wants to stay, that's where he should stay. Aunt Lee frowned, worry creeping into her voice. Then what if he doesn't want to stay in Port City in the future? Truthfully, even Aunt Lee found it a little surprising. Vivian, who had always been strong-willed and unreasonable, seemed like a completely different person whenever it came to Victor. But Vivian answered with almost no hesitation at all. "Then wherever he is, I'll go there to see him." Aunt Lee reached up and lightly tapped Vivian on the forehead. "Then work hard and make him like you sooner. Otherwise, if you run all the way there to see him, he might not even agree to see you. There is no logic to feelings in the first place. Since you've already fallen for him, stop worrying about who is supposed to do the chasing and go after him boldly." Vivian answered her on the surface, but inwardly she was thinking that Victor had only just gotten out of a relationship. At a time like this, pushing too hard would only backfire. For Vivian, chasing the person she liked was easily the most difficult thing she had ever faced in her life. The next day, Victor came back to the hotel carrying a bag of packed snacks. The moment he reached his room, he saw that the door was wide open and several strangers were gathered outside, both men and women, none of whom he recognized. Just then, a man's voice drifted out from inside the room. "Hurry up and get this place cleaned up. My friend will be here any minute." Victor did not walk over right away. Instead, he called Selena first. There were too many people on the other side, and he was not stupid enough to charge in alone and confront them by himself. After getting a firm answer from Selena, Victor hung up and turned to leave. But at that exact moment, A hotel staff member coming out of the room spotted him at once. The other man lit up and called out, "Victor, you're back." The instant those words left his mouth, every pair of eyes inside and outside the room snapped toward Victor, who had just been about to walk away. Not only did Victor fail to stop, he actually sped up. Clearly, though, the other side had no intention of letting him leave that easily. The few people standing outside the door rushed over at once and blocked his path. At the same time, the man inside the room slowly stepped out as well. After giving Victor a long look from head to toe, he let out a mocking laugh. "Why are you running? I'm taking this room. Grab your trash and get out." This had always been the best located room in the entire hotel. Lin Luoxian often used it to entertain guests. In the past, not many people could afford to stay in it long term, so most of the time it sat empty. But in Lin Luoxian's eyes, it did not matter even if someone was already staying there. At most, they were just some minor nobody with a little money. In Port City, they were not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Hearing that, Victor let out a cold laugh of his own. And when his eyes landed on the watch in the man's hand, the contempt in his gaze only deepened. The next second, Victor looked the man straight in the eye and shot back without the slightest politeness. "Then what exactly does it mean that you're holding my trash?" Lance clearly hadn't expected Victor to speak to him that bluntly. His face stiffened for a second. "What are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean." Victor let out a scornful laugh. "You don't understand plain English? That's fine. I can explain it to you." His eyes landed on the watch in Lance's hand, and when he spoke again, his tone was calm and unhurried. "That Patek Philippe perpetual calendar chronograph on your wrist, the REF 1518, sold for 350 million at a high society auction in France a year ago. And the winning bidder was a businessman from China, one from my family." In that instant, whether Victor was telling the truth or not, the first thing that surfaced in Lance's mind after hearing the watch was worth 350 million was not caution or fear, but greed. He gently stroked the watch on his wrist, almost openly infatuated with it. 350 million. No wonder I liked it the second I saw it. Then he raised his hand and looked at the watch again, thoughts racing through his mind before he made his decision almost immediately. Lance flicked a hand at his bodyguards, his voice calm but packed with cold certainty. "I don't know what you're talking about, but this watch has always been mine. Throw him out with all his trash. In Port City, what I say goes. The watch is on me right now, which means it belongs to me. That's the answer anyone gets." Victor quietly felt for the weapon hidden in his pocket, his mind already racing through possible ways to get out of this. But before he could move, the elevator doors behind them opened with a sharp ding. The next second, a tall woman strode out with more than 10 bodyguards at her back. Victor glanced over his shoulder and recognized her immediately. It was Lydia, the woman running the family company's Port City branch and Selena's representative in the city. Victor immediately raised a hand and called out, "Lydia, over here," looking at the young man in front of her, every bit as absurdly handsome as he had looked in the pictures. Lydia still found herself stunned all over again. She hurried straight to Victor's side, skipped any pointless questions, and looked him over from head to toe first. Only after confirming he was not hurt did she finally let out a breath. Victor smiled at her and gently reassured her, "Don't worry, I'm not hurt." Things almost turned physical, but it didn't get that far. From the moment Lydia appeared, Lance's eyes had been fixed on her. But the second he realized her first reaction had been to check on Victor, his face darkened on the spot. He immediately demanded in a cold voice, "Lydia, what are you doing here? What exactly is your relationship with him?" Only then did Lydia turn toward him at the sound of his voice. But she had never imagined that Victor's trouble would have anything to do with Lance. She stared at him in disbelief. "It was you," Lance sneered. "Yeah, it was me. So what? You're nothing but the daughter the family threw away. Don't flatter yourself into thinking your presence changes anything. Lydia, let me make this clear. You and him, both of you are gone the second I say the word." To be honest, Lydia and Lance had not seen each other in a very long time. But no matter how much time had passed, her half-brother was still every bit as stupid as ever, stupid enough to make her vision go dark. So she walked straight up to him, raised her hand in front of his stunned eyes, and brought it down hard the next second. The slap cracked through the air. Lance's face snapped to the side, and one half of it began swelling red almost immediately. Lydia shook out the hand that had gone slightly numb from how hard she had hit him, then stared at him coldly. That slap was just the interest. "Lance, not everyone is someone you can afford to offend." It was only after she finished speaking that Lance finally processed what had happened and realized he had just been slapped. In the next second, he exploded, clutching his face and shouting like a madman. He even tried to rush at Lydia, screaming, "Who gave you the nerve to hit me? You're done. You're completely done." Lydia only looked at him with open contempt as he was firmly held back by the bodyguards she had brought. Right then, Victor's voice suddenly cut through the argument. "Lydia, could I trouble you to step aside for a second?" Lydia turned around and only then noticed that Victor had his phone up and was recording. Lance saw it too and almost instinctively tried to hide his hand behind his back. Victor looked at the panic he could not quite cover up and spoke in a tone so calm it was almost icy. "Enough. Stop hiding it. I already recorded everything. And I got every single one of your faces on camera too." With that, Victor lowered his head and opened his chat window, then sent the video to Selena. After that, he continued, "That watch isn't the only valuable thing in my room. There's plenty more and they're worth just as much. If even one item is missing or one item is damaged, you'll be paying for it." A moment ago, Victor had kept his head down because he had been badly outnumbered. But now he walked straight past Lance and into his room, even though he had braced himself for the worst. The sight of his belongings scattered all over the place still hit hard, especially when he spotted the shattered pieces of a jade bracelet. His chest tightened on the spot. That was top-grade imperial green jade. He kept his phone up and continued recording, only relaxing a little after confirming that the bracelet was the only damaged item. Then he turned toward Lance, who was still being blocked at the door, and said word by word, "You're the one who's finished." Lydia's expression was just as grim. She truly had not expected Lance to be stupid enough to take things this far. Her brows drew tight, and her voice was full of concern. Victor was a lot damaged. Victor answered evenly, quite a bit. A few $100 million, give or take. Hearing that number, even Lydia's mouth fell open a little. Lance froze too, then started shouting, "What nonsense are you talking about? How could you possibly be carrying that many expensive things around with you?" He was shouting, but deep down he was already panicking. Too bad for him. Victor could not even be bothered to spare him another glance this time. Instead, he turned and sat down on the sofa inside the room. Vic spoke with a calm expression. "Wait until the cops get here, and you can keep yelling at me." Lance's face turned ugly in an instant. "What do you mean? You call the police?" As soon as the words left his mouth, Lance tried to force his way into the room, but Lydia's bodyguards blocked him. Shoving angrily at the guards, he shouted toward Lydia, "Lydia, tell your people to back off." Lydia only shot him a cold glance. "You'd better stop making yourself look even more stupid." Her words only made Lance's anger flare higher. "Are you threatening me? Let me tell you, in Port City, calling the police doesn't mean a thing for just anyone. Listen, Vic, even if you're a dragon elsewhere, you'll still crawl at my feet on my turf." Vic only gave him an indifferent glance and replied with a simple, "Oh." Lance wanted to say more, but he saw Vic walk aside while taking a call. Vic gave him no chance to speak at all. He tested the line with a quiet, "Hello?" Hearing that his voice still sounded normal, Vivian's heart finally settled. Her tone eased significantly. "The police are already on their way, and I'll be there soon too." Hearing the concern and urgency in her voice, Vic answered calmly, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Vic had no idea how Vivian found out something happened, but he knew that the moment things went south, she had rushed to his side at once. That thought alone improved his mood quite a bit. With a hint of teasing in his voice, he asked, "Almost here? You care about me that much?" Vivian answered lightly on the other end of the line, "Of course. You're my only VIP. If I'm not worried about you, who else would I be worried about?" Hearing that, Victor felt a faint warmth settle in his chest, but he still couldn't help pressing a little further. "Just me." Vivian's voice came through the phone, clear and certain. "Yes, just you." Victor tightened his grip on the phone and lowered his voice without even realizing it. "What about later?" There was a brief pause on the other end before Vivian answered with quiet conviction. "Later too." By then, Vivian had already stopped outside the hotel, looking up at the building in front of her. She took a slow breath and added in a low voice, "There's no point imagining a future unless you're in it." Then she said, "Victor, I'm here." The line made Victor shiver from the sheer cheesiness of it. But when he looked at the number on his screen, he still ended up laughing out loud. His tone softened immediately. "Then I'll wait for you, Vivian." At the same time, Lance was still cursing at the top of his lungs near the door. "Lydia, why are you helping him this much? What do you even get out of blowing this up? And you're siding with some outsider like this? Aren't you afraid I'll tell Dad?" Lydia stood there expressionless, not moved in the slightest. Seeing that she was completely unaffected, Lance's face flushed red with frustration. In the end, he simply yanked out his phone and snapped, "I'm calling Dad right now." Once upon a time, that threat had been the one thing Lydia feared most. But now she only stood guard by Victor's door, looking down at him as if he were beneath her notice. Lance got through quickly. Dad, Lydia, and some guy are ganging up on me." On the other end, Arthur's face darkened. His voice was full of irritation. "That useless girl again? Put her on the phone." He didn't ask a single question. Because Lance had complained first, Arthur had already decided Lydia had to be the one in the wrong. The second he heard that, Lance looked smug and lifted his chin at Lydia. Then he switched the call to speaker and held the phone out toward her. "Dad wants to talk to you." Lydia lowered her eyes to the phone in front of her. She had known for a long time that the family had already abandoned her. And yet, hearing Arthur's voice again like this still left a dull ache in her chest. Just as she was hesitating over whether to reach for it, Victor's hand suddenly reached in from the side. He took the phone as naturally as if it belonged to him. "Old man, and you are?" A strange male voice coming through the line made Arthur frown at once. His tone turned openly impatient. "And who exactly are you? Put Lydia on the phone right now." Victor didn't give an inch. "Why would I do that?" That only made Arthur angrier. His voice sharpened instantly. "Can't you understand simple words? Why would you? Who the hell do you think you are, asking me that to my face?" Victor let out a cold laugh and answered without the slightest retreat. "Who am I? Then you're in trouble, because from this point on, I'm probably going to be one of your creditors." Arthur froze for a second. A bad feeling rose in him immediately. But Victor never gave him the chance to ask another question. "I'm under no obligation to answer you." Then he hung up. Right after that, he tossed the phone back to Lance and watched him fumble awkwardly to catch it. Victor lifted a brow, the corner of his mouth curling up, and at that exact moment, the elevator doors opened. The first thing Vivian saw was that version of him. Something slammed hard into her chest the instant she did. Her mind didn't even have time to form a thought. Her body was already moving on instinct, step by step toward him, until he finally noticed her too. The smile on his face only deepened. He even lifted a hand and beckoned her over, the gesture so casual it almost felt like someone calling their own dog. And yet, strangely enough, Vivian didn't dislike it at all. If anything, she quickened her pace. Out of everyone there, only Victor and Vivian were still smiling. Everyone else had already gone pale. Vivian walked straight to Victor without sparing anyone else a glance. Then she lowered her voice and asked, "How do you want this handled?" Victor met her gaze. His tone stayed calm, but there was no missing the firmness in it. "Money, an apology, but I don't need you stepping in for me. I'll handle it myself." Vivian didn't hesitate for even a second. She nodded immediately. "All right, I'll do it your way." The gentle, obedient way she said it had Lydia seriously wondering whether she was seeing things. And it wasn't just her. Lance, whose legs had already gone weak the moment Vivian showed up, was now staring so hard his eyes looked ready to pop out. Only then did it finally hit him. If he had known from the start that Victor had this kind of connection to Vivian, he wouldn't have dared lay a finger on him, even if someone handed him 10,000 times more nerve. With that thought, Lance shakily removed the watch and held it back out to Victor, trying desperately to salvage the situation. His voice trembled so badly, it practically sounded like begging. "Victor, the watch. Here, take it back. About today, can you maybe let this go?" Victor looked at him without the slightest shift in expression. "Let it go. That might be difficult. You may not know me, but everyone who does knows one thing. I hold grudges." As he spoke, Victor took the watch from Lance's hand, but only pinched it between two fingers with visible disgust and gave it a careless little shake. Then he tossed it right back into Lance's hands, brushed off his own palm lightly, and said in an unhurried tone that somehow cut even deeper, "And I don't keep things once they've been contaminated." Lance's face turned paper white the moment he heard that. His mouth opened as if he wanted to argue for himself. But the instant he met Vivian's icy stare, every word died in his throat. It didn't take long before the cops arrived. Victor handed over the video from his phone directly to the officer in charge. And after the scene was examined and the hotel surveillance footage had been reviewed, the lead officer finally spoke. "Mr. Lin, you and your people will need to come with us." Lance's face was bloodless. His grip on his phone tightened again and again. After struggling with himself for a long moment, he finally called Arthur. And on the other side, after Victor finished giving his statement, he left with Lydia. Lydia didn't hesitate. She smiled and said, "Victor." Victor returned the smile with a nod. "You're like my sister, so just call me Victor." Lydia dipped her head slightly, then said his name again with easy familiarity. "Victor." After that, she brought him over to sit down somewhere quieter, leaned in a little, and asked with clear concern, "Where do you want to stay now?" A hotel could be safe, and at the same time not safe at all. Anyone with enough status and influence could always find a way in. Victor thought for a moment, then looked up at her and asked softly, "What about that place you said I could stay in?" Is it ready? Lydia answered at once, her tone warm and reassuring. It's ready. Hearing that, Victor finally settled and answered without hesitation. Then I'll just move in there. After that, he turned to Vivian. Do you have anything to take care of after this? The truth was, Vivian was not actually free, but to her, the most important thing right now was helping him get settled first. She turned toward him and answered softly, No, I'm staying with you. Lydia, on the other hand, had rushed over after leaving a business partner hanging, and now that she saw Vivian staying by Victor's side, she finally stopped worrying. After a brief goodbye, she hurried off again. Once Lydia left, Vivian suddenly said, Lydia is working for Rongxing Group now. Victor nodded. I know, and left it at that, seeing that he had no intention of explaining anything. Vivian did not press the matter either. Instead, she pointed toward the car, then rose to her feet and said evenly, Come on, I'll help you move your things. Victor looked a little surprised. You're going to do it yourself? Vivian tilted her head slightly and shot the question back. Is there a problem with that? Victor laughed, half teasing and half serious. You're the great Vivian Gu. Isn't having you help me move a bit of a waste of talent? 2 hours later, they arrived at Golden Crest Gardens. It was the largest and most luxurious villa district in Port City. When Victor found the house using the address Lydia had sent him, Vivian paused for a beat. Victor noticed and casually asked, What is it? Vivian turned to him with the faintest lift at the corner of her mouth. What if I told you the house next door is mine? Victor blanked for a second, then broke into a bright smile. What are the odds? Then I guess I'll be counting on you from now on, neighbor. As he said it, he held out his hand. Vivian reacted quickly and clasped it right away. And I'll be counting on you too, Mr. Shun. When she let go, her fingers purposely brushed lightly across his palm. Meanwhile, Lance could not wrap his head around it. Even after Arthur had called in every favor he had, Lance still could not get out. On top of that, after learning the full story, the lawyers had come to only one conclusion, a private settlement. But that only worked if Victor agreed to it. After turning down several requests to meet from the other side's lawyer, Victor finally got a call from his own attorney 3 days later. By the time he arrived, the people in the room had already been waiting long enough to grow visibly impatient. Arthur stayed seated, contempt written all over his face. He did not even wait for Victor to sit down before pushing the issue. Go ahead. How much do you want before you agree to let my son off? Victor took his time. He walked over to the main seat and sat down. Then he slowly poured himself a cup of tea. And only after that did he look up and answer, 1 billion. Arthur clenched the settlement papers so hard they crumpled in his grip. He forced obvious shock and restraint down into his voice. Victor, don't you think that number is a little excessive? Victor leaned back in his chair, took the photos his lawyer handed him, then flicked his wrist and sent them sliding forward. They landed perfectly across the table in front of Arthur. Victor looked at him, his tone calm but edged with unmistakable coldness. No, you're the one thinking too small. If you can't even come up with 1 billion, what exactly are you trying to posture as in front of me? Do you know what the watch your son stole was worth? Do you know what the jade bracelet he smashed was worth? Do you know what everything else I lost was worth? That 1 billion is already a discounted price, and the only reason you're getting it is because you happen to be Lydia's biological father. Arthur's face went pale the moment he heard that. It was not as though he had never seen those photos before. He simply had not cared. But now he had no choice but to pick up the appraisal reports on the table and read them properly. The more he read, the uglier his face turned. By the end, he had crushed the entire stack of reports out of shape in his hand. Remembering what Lance had told him before, he still forced himself to argue. There's no way you lost that much. My son only took 1 watch from you, and the only thing damaged was that bracelet. Victor shot back immediately. Who says? They were my things. If I say that much is missing, then that much is missing. And let's not forget, all of those items were logged when they came through customs at the airport. Now that they can't be found, of course I'm holding the man who broke and responsible. Of course, if he can produce proof that he didn't take them, then I'll just count myself unlucky. But Arthur knew full well that Lance could never prove that. The break-in was a fact. Ransacking Victor's belongings was a fact. Damaging and stealing from him was also a fact. But 1 billion, even if Arthur could pay it, he would never throw that kind of money at Lance. After taking several deep breaths in a row, Arthur finally forced a placating smile onto his face. He asked carefully, then perhaps you could tell me plainly how you want this handled? Victor lifted his eyes slightly and asked in the same calm tone, This matter? Lydia is your daughter, isn't she? The second he heard that, Arthur felt his heart drop, but he still kept smiling and answered, Yes. I've heard the two of you seem to be fairly close. Victor replied lightly, "We are. I like Lydia a lot." That made Arthur visibly relax. He even rubbed his face before trying a different approach, slipping smoothly into a more familiar tone. "Well, if we're all on the same side here, why not do Lydia a favor and let Lance off the hook?" No one in the room expected what came next. Victor actually nodded. Even Arthur stared at him, stunned enough that his mouth fell open. But in the very next second, Victor tapped the table lightly with one finger and added at an unhurried pace, "For Lydia's sake, if you return the shares her mother left her, I'll cut the compensation in half, drop the charges, and let your precious son off the hook." Arthur slammed a hand against the table. He shot to his feet, his face twisted with shock and anger. "Impossible. That's 10% of the company." Victor only shook his head at Arthur's outburst, his voice cool and steady. "Old man, I think you've misunderstood something. I'm not discussing this with you. I'm informing you. Either you settle on my terms, or Lance goes in. Of course, I know Lance by himself isn't much leverage. So let's add every partnership between your company and Prosperity Group. Does that make it clear enough?" The words hit Arthur like a sledgehammer. He sat there dazed for a long moment before finally forcing himself back to his senses. His voice came out heavy with confusion and disbelief. "What exactly is that supposed to mean?" Victor looked at him coldly and answered one word at a time. "When you forced Lydia into working with your family, you never imagined this day would come, did you? Right now, more than half your projects are backed by Prosperity Group's money. Have you ever thought about what happens the second that money disappears? Everything your family has already poured into those projects turns into wasted effort overnight." His tone somehow grew even calmer after that. "I'm sure you did think about it. You just convinced yourself Lydia would never really turn on her family. After all, it was her mother's life's work. And in your eyes, she's only a woman working for Prosperity Group. She doesn't speak for the company. So naturally, you figured there wasn't much she could really do, especially when those projects are making real money for Prosperity Group. Why would the company come after you over her?" At that, Victor gave a small laugh. "Actually, you weren't completely wrong. Lydia really wouldn't destroy what her mother left behind. But I'm different. What does your family have to do with me? If it collapses, I can just have Prosperity Group prop up another one. Lydia still has the right last name for it." After saying that, Victor did not even bother looking at Arthur again. He simply poured himself another cup of tea, calm as ever. Arthur stared at him, his tone full of accusation he could barely keep down. "Who the hell are you?" Victor lifted the cup, took a slow sip, and only then replied, "Didn't I tell you already? I'm the biggest creditor your family has." Arthur's face darkened even further when he heard that, and the anger in his voice nearly burst free. "And you're not afraid my company could drag Prosperity Group down with it?" Victor laughed out loud. "Afraid? Why would I be? If Prosperity Group chooses to play with your family, the worst it loses is a finger. Why would I care about that?" The truth was, Arthur understood that perfectly well without Victor spelling it out. When he forced Lydia into working with the family before, he had been gambling on the fact that Prosperity Group's headquarters was far away, and that as long as the trouble stayed small, no one there would bother noticing what was happening in Port City. What he had never expected was Victor showing up out of nowhere, much less standing out front for Lydia like this. The thought nearly knocked Arthur right out of his chair. It took him a while to steady himself against the table and stand again. He could give up Lance if he had to, but he could never give up the family business. In the end, he lowered his head and said obediently, "When I get back, I'll have Lydia sign the share transfer papers. Please show mercy. Spare Lance and spare the family." Victor's expression did not change at all. He only answered calmly, "That's a separate matter. The money you owe me doesn't get reduced by a cent." Arthur looked like he was about to cough up blood on the spot. But even then, all he could do was force a smile and nod. Once that was done, Victor lifted a hand in a casual gesture to show him out. He watched Arthur turn away with his back stiff as a board, then walk off step by step, just as stiffly, and finally let out a quiet, mocking breath. Then he pulled out his phone and called Selena. "Sis, it's handled." On the other end, Selena only gave a calm little Victor had been about to hang up, but suddenly something else crossed his mind, and he asked, "Sis, you've been awfully invested in Lydia. Are you hiding something from me?" He waited, but no answer came from the other end. So he called out again, "Sis?" The next second, she started fumbling through a weak excuse, which only made him more certain that there was definitely something going on between those two. Listening to the dead tone after she hung up in a hurry, Victor clicked his tongue, then got up to leave the private room. But the second he reached the door, he saw someone he absolutely had not expected. Before he could even step aside, the other man had already strode right up to him. His eyes were shining, and his voice was full of excitement. No way. It's really you. You're actually in Port City. No wonder Chloe couldn't find you anywhere. Ronan reached out with practiced ease and patted Victor on the shoulder. But Victor stopped the motion at once with one hand, then shoved him away with a blank expression. His voice stayed flat, but left no room for argument. No thanks. I've got things to do. I'm leaving. But the second he turned, Ronan stepped in front of him again, clearly flustered. Come on, Victor. Even if you and Chloe had a fight, we're still friends, right? Victor only looked at him for a long moment. Then he spoke slowly, his voice lined with open mockery. Friends. So, when you sent Chloe my location just now, was that because we're friends too? Don't act like I didn't see it. You were standing there hammering away at your phone. I could have guessed that you were texting with my eyes closed. Panic flashed across Ronan's face, but he quickly tried to cover it with excuses. Victor, you've got it wrong. I just figured there might have been some misunderstanding between you and Chloe. I wanted you two to clear it up. Besides, Victor, let's be real. In our circle, who's actually that clean? Chloe stayed loyal to you for all those years. That already says plenty. And at the end of the day, nothing really happened between her and Leo. So why go off the grid over it? Do you even know how worried she's been about you? She's gotten so thin lately I can barely stand to look at her. The more Ronan talked, the more self-righteous he sounded. Victor only gave a cold laugh. Then the words that came out of him were sharp enough to hit like broken ice. Are you Chloe's father or something? You defend her this hard. What, if you end up crippled, is she supposed to kneel by your bed and wipe your ass too? Ronan's face changed instantly, stung by how vicious the line was. He pointed at Victor, his voice jumping higher. How can you say something that disgusting? Victor met his gaze without backing down an inch. Oh, and you think what you're saying sounds any better? At least I'm speaking like a human being. Every time you open your mouth, it sounds like gas. It's bad enough to make people sick. And this whole our circle crap? That's your circle, not mine. You people are rotten, and now you want everyone else to be rotten with you. Trash belongs in a trash pile. Stay far away from someone like me. Don't even try to come near me. With that, Victor turned and walked away. Behind him, Ronan was so furious his eyes had practically gone red. He stood there with one hand stabbing at Victor's retreating back. A whole stream of insults ready to spill out, but Victor never gave him the chance. In the end, all Ronan could do was take a hard breath, then turn back to replying to Chloe. While Ronan was busy maliciously exposing Victor's whereabouts, Mia, who had been tasked with quietly making sure Victor stayed safe, was having the time of her life listening in. She sat there holding her phone with an excited grin, clipped the audio from the hallway surveillance, and dropped it straight into the group chat. Right after that, she spammed a string of thumbs up stickers. Then she held down the voice button and sent a message full of genuine admiration. I've never really admired anybody in my life, but Victor's mouth? That one I truly respect. The problem was, not even a minute after she sent it, Sean immediately caught the name mentioned in the recording. Mia's face froze on the spot. She hurriedly typed, "Delete it." Now, Sean had no idea what was going on, but he still withdrew the message right away. Unfortunately, Vivian had already opened the group chat at just the wrong moment. She paused for a second, then simply sent, "I saw it." At that point, Mia had no choice but to give up on the recall entirely and laugh it off awkwardly, while Sean, finally realizing he'd messed up, rushed to patch things over. Yeah, Vivian, someone like Victor isn't exactly the type to get pushed around. But while the chat kept filling up with new messages, Vivian never said another word. Mia immediately sensed disaster. She clicked into Vivian's profile and started messaging her privately instead. She typed away for ages, but Vivian still never replied. Sitting in the security room, Mia's face darkened by the second. She almost wanted to slap herself. In that moment, the regret hit her full force. Why the hell did I have to send a recording about Victor into that group? Meanwhile, far away in her office, Vivian had already opened the file. As she listened to that name come up again and again, she visibly sank into a low mood. Chloe. Vivian repeated the name, softly under her breath. Her fingers tapped against the desk over and over. Something about the name felt strangely familiar. But more than that, what really bothered her was who Chloe was, Victor's ex-girlfriend. Even if she was only an ex, the thought still left a bitter taste in Vivian's chest. Worse yet, what irritated her most was knowing she did not even have the right to be jealous of an ex. She opened Victor's profile and stared at the chat window for a very long time. In the end, she let out a quiet sigh. A petty little thought would not stop circling in her head. He finished handling everything, so why hadn't he thought of me yet? And then, just like that, a system notification suddenly popped up in their chat. You tapped Victor's clever little head. Intimacy +1. The instant Vivian saw the message, She panicked and tried to unsend it. But before she could, Victor's reply had already come in, which meant that now, even if there had been nothing there before, there definitely was now. Vivian let out a light breath, then slowly typed with deliberate care. I just wanted to ask if you were done. Unable to think of any better excuse, she even ended up dragging Aunt Lee into it in her head. Victor looked at the message and instantly felt like teasing her. She really was direct. He could almost picture the exact way Vivian must have said it. That serious face of hers trying and failing to hide what she really meant. He glanced at the time, picked up his phone again, and typed back, "Really? Then how much did you miss me?" Vivian stared at that line for a long time without replying. Instead, she frowned and thought about the question with absolute seriousness. She was so focused she did not even notice her assistant knocking at the door for a while. Only when she finally came back to herself did she tell the assistant to come in. The assistant pushed the door open, originally planning to report the rest of the day's schedule, only be cut off by Vivian first. "I need to ask you something." She sat upright, her expression more serious than ever. The look on her face was so grave that the assistant thought something catastrophic had happened. By the time the assistant had managed to brace herself, Vivian finally continued, with a trace of tension hidden in her voice. "Hypothetically, I'm saying hypothetically, if you tell someone you like that you want to see them, and they ask just how much you want to see them, what are you supposed to say?" The second she heard that, the assistant's face lit up with a knowing smile. "Vivian, that was Victor, wasn't it? I thought this was going to be something huge. You had me scared with how serious you looked. Who knew our Vivian would ever admit she wants to see someone?" Being hit right in the heart of it made Vivian flush with rare embarrassment. "Hurry up and answer. Stop wasting time." Seeing that, the assistant immediately swallowed her grin and nodded. All right. I think Victor." Before she could finish, Vivian cut in like someone had stepped on her tail. "I never said it was Victor." A brief silence followed. Then Vivian gave up trying to save face. "Go on." The assistant cleared her throat and barely managed to swallow the smile, trying to come out, then started analyzing things in earnest. "Based on my extensive experience, I think he asked that because he knew you'd be too shy to answer directly, and he was teasing you on purpose." Vivian's lips immediately pressed into a pout, and the disappointment in her eyes was impossible to miss. She had actually thought Victor was testing her feelings. Still unwilling to let it go, she pressed, "So he was just joking?" The assistant answered honestly. "If I had to guess, probably. But if you really care that much, why not just ask him directly? The worst thing in a relationship is constantly trying to guess what the other person means. If there's a problem, say it out loud. If it can be talked through, then talk it through. If it can't, then let it end. At least that way, you won't leave yourself with regrets." The assistant had only thrown that last part in casually, but Vivian took every single word to heart. She sat there thinking so deeply that she didn't even notice when the assistant left. Meanwhile, Victor had waited a while and still heard nothing back from Vivian, and started to feel a little confused. It wasn't until he got home and checked his phone again that he finally saw the message she had sent. "I miss you very, very much." Just 4 simple words. Victor climbed onto the couch, folding his legs under him while typing, then carefully sent back, after thinking that hard, "All I get is 4 words? I'm getting ripped off here." The moment she saw those last 2 words, Vivian headed into the garage, all while wondering whether Victor's message was supposed to mean something more. After a while, she finally replied, "Then I'll make it up to you." For some reason, those words made Victor's heart stir a little, but he didn't answer her again. After setting his phone down, he went into the bathroom to shower. A few minutes later, he grabbed his phone again and was about to head downstairs to find something to eat, when Vivian suddenly called. "I'm outside your place." Victor took the phone and ran downstairs. The moment he opened the door, he saw her standing outside. She looked like she had come straight from the office, her cheeks faintly flushed, her breathing still slightly uneven. When she noticed him staring at her so openly, Vivian instinctively stepped forward, then held out the bag in her hand. "I picked up some authentic Port City street food. Consider it your compensation." Victor took the bag from her and answered with open curiosity, "Let me see what you got." Vivian smiled faintly, her tone even carrying the smallest hint of pleading. "At least let me come in first. It's windy out here." The second she said it, Victor stepped aside to let her in. As he led her inside, he said, "I only have disposable slippers here, so you'll have to make do." As he spoke, he reached into the top cabinet and took them down for her. The fact that he showed no annoyance at all over her sudden visit made Vivian feel as if her whole body had gone light. She immediately launched into an eager introduction of everything she had brought. That egg waffle place is a Port City classic, Sweet but not overly sweet, crisp outside and soft inside. You should try it. As she spoke, she pointed to the rest of the bag. And these too. Roast duck, fried skewers. Seeing how enthusiastic she looked, Victor found himself growing happier too. Perfect. I hadn't eaten either. Thanks. By the time they reached the table and were about to start eating, Victor suddenly lifted a hand to stop her. Wait, do you drink? Vivian blinked in surprise and looked up at him. Drink? What kind of drink? Victor smiled. Fruit wine. I brought it from the capital. But what caught Vivian's attention wasn't the wine. It was the place name. This was the first time Victor had ever mentioned where he was from, and her eyes lit up instantly. Part of her even started wondering whether he was finally beginning to open up to her. Even so, Vivian kept her expression under perfect control and didn't let a trace of that excitement show. Not long after, Victor came back carrying a sealed jar of wine and set it on the table. I made this when I went out to the countryside once, with an older woman teaching me how to brew mulberry wine. It's really good. You're in luck tonight. As soon as he finished speaking, he expertly pulled the cork. The rich fragrance of the wine immediately spread through the room. By the time he filled the cup and offered it to Vivian, she was visibly hesitating. Victor caught the hesitation at once and coaxed her softly. Back home, there were always people watching me, so I could only ever sneak a tiny glass. Now that I finally have the chance, won't you have some with me? The moment she heard that, Vivian quickly took the cup. No, I was just worried you'd get drunk. Vivian's own alcohol tolerance was actually excellent, so she wasn't worried about herself at all. What she did trust was her judgment about people, and her instincts told her Victor was probably nowhere near as good at drinking as he thought he was. Yet Victor was already swearing up and down that he'd be fine, raising his glass first. Relax, I don't get drunk. Vivian had no way to deal with him, so all she could do was clink glasses with him, indulgence written all over her expression. Then she stayed and drank with him while they ate. Before either of them noticed, an hour had passed. Victor's third glass was already empty. The moment Vivian saw him getting restless and reaching toward the wine jar again, she hurried to stop him. Victor, no more. If you keep drinking, you really will get drunk. Victor lifted his flushed face and insisted once again, though his words were already beginning to blur together. What are you muttering about? How could I be drunk? I'm getting clearer by the minute. Then he grabbed the hand Vivian had put out to stop him and tried to shove it aside. But no matter how hard he pushed, it wouldn't move, and he stared at it in dazed confusion. Why didn't it move? I know I was using force. Huh, nice hand. As he said that, he reached out and let one fingertip land softly on the back of her hand, and right in front of her stunned eyes, began tracing the shape of her knuckles. Vivian lowered her voice and asked, Victor, are you drunk? She tried to pull her hand back while he wasn't paying attention, but drunk as he was, Victor was strangely sharp about that. In the next second, he caught her hand again. Then he frowned at her with drunken impatience. Don't move. Let me look. Vivian took a slow breath. At that point, she didn't need to ask anymore. He was definitely drunk. Hadn't he been bragging just moments ago that he could hold his liquor? It had only been 3 glasses. The thought made her let out a silent sigh. She tried to pull her hand away again, but it wouldn't budge. Clearly, even drunk, Victor was still instinctively guarding what he'd already claimed. He let out a soft little laugh, drew Vivian's hand to his cheek, and rubbed lightly against the back of it. Then he looked up at her with complete focus and absolute sincerity. Vivian, I like this. The moment she saw his face like that, Vivian's breathing turned heavier. She let him keep playing with her hand while she lowered her head and pretended to focus on sipping her wine. But before long, Victor suddenly ordered, Other one. That one was too warm. I don't like it. And somehow Vivian really did obediently offer him her other hand. Victor touched it carefully, and once he decided he liked this one too, he leaned toward it and said in a soft voice, Vivian, this one isn't warm. The second he said that, the last fragile bit of composure Vivian had managed to hold together shattered, and her cheeks flushed bright red. She allowed a slow breath. Watching Victor sit there playing with her hand, she almost felt relieved that, at least for now, his attention wasn't on her face, which of course was exactly when his gaze lifted away from her hand and fixed on her without blinking. Vivian, your face is really red. You must be drunk. Vivian immediately raised her free hand to cover her face. She glared at him, embarrassed and annoyed at once. Victor, you need to figure out who's actually drunk first. His eyes lit up immediately. What did you say? Figure it out? Let me take a look. Is it really my lucky day? Before she could react, he stood up right in front of her, and in the next second, he was already standing directly over her. Vivian's whole body went rigid, and even her breathing caught. But when she saw the haze in Victor's eyes and realized he wasn't even remotely sober, she relaxed just a little. A dangerous little part of her even started savoring his scent up close. If he leaned forward even the slightest bit more, he would brush right against the tip of her nose. For one brief instant, Vivian genuinely wanted to close the distance herself. Thankfully, the last thread of reason dragged her back. Unfortunately, Victor only got bolder. His hands started roaming clumsily over her. In the end, his fingertips found her earlobe. The very second he touched it, Vivian nearly lost control. She gritted her teeth and turned her head, trying to dodge his breath. Her voice came out almost embarrassingly unsteady. "Victor, stop playing around." But Victor, full of drunken sweetness, dragged out his reply like a spoiled complaint. "Huh, I can't hear you." Vivian could only answer with helpless affection. "You heard me." Victor shook his head with perfect seriousness and insisted, "No, I didn't." Then he stared at her as if trying to act fierce. Just when Vivian thought he was about to get upset, she realized his gaze had already started traveling slowly down from the tip of her nose, to her lips, and then lower still, until it stopped in one particular place and didn't move. The look in his eyes made Vivian jolt on the spot. She shot to her feet faster than she ever had in her life. "Victor, don't do anything stupid." Victor only scratched his head, looking utterly baffled. His voice was full of innocent confusion. "What are you scared of?" Vivian turned her face away. Her voice tried to stay calm, but her eyes gave her away. "I'm not scared." Victor stared at her for a moment, obvious confusion flickering in his gaze. "It's not like I was going to take advantage of you. Besides, you're the one who said you wanted me to look, remember?" Vivian blinked, clearly not following his meaning at all. "When did I ever say that?" Halfway through her sentence, Vivian suddenly realized she really had used the word look just now. She quickly tried to explain, "You heard me wrong. That's not what I meant." But the moment those words left her mouth, Vic's expression fell into open hurt. Vivian had always been weakest against that look of his, and seeing that he was already swaying on his feet, her heart clenched on the spot. After standing there in silence for a moment, she finally gave in and stepped back in front of him. "Fine, go ahead, but there are places you're not allowed to touch." Even as she said it, Vivian knew how ridiculous it was to try reasoning with a drunk man. The second he realized she had relented, Vic patted her on the shoulder in satisfaction, then reached out and lightly tapped the tip of her nose. "Vivian, I want to sleep." Hearing that, Vivian froze where she stood. Even her voice came out shaky. "Sleep? How exactly do you want to sleep?" Vic, on the other hand, explained with perfect seriousness, "Wash my face, brush my teeth, then lie down in bed and close my eyes." A little while later, Vivian quietly followed behind him as they went upstairs and stepped straight into the guest bedroom. When she followed him inside, she found Vic standing there smiling at her with a brand new toothbrush in hand. He even pulled out a face towel, a bath towel, and a few other things, stuffing them into her arms one after another. Only after doing all that did he turn away in complete satisfaction. Vivian stood there holding a pile of unopened toiletries, unable to put her feelings into words. By the time that thought settled, she suddenly had the distinct premonition that she was probably going to lose her whole life to this man. Just then, his voice called out to her again from the hallway. Vivian hurried out at once, only to see Vic brushing his teeth in a daze, toothpaste still foaming at the corner of his mouth. He tilted his head and mumbled a slurred good night to her. Looking at his back, Vivian's voice softened without her even noticing. "Good night, Vic." A few minutes later, Vivian stood by the bed, looking at Vic already fast asleep beneath the covers. She reached over, turned off the light, and slipped quietly out of the room. But that night, Vivian didn't go back to her own place. Instead, she stayed in the guest room right next to his, leaving both doors cracked open. She knew drunk people could throw up in their sleep, or worse, choke on it. She simply couldn't stop worrying about him. Thankfully, Vic slept soundly the whole night and stayed perfectly fine until morning. Before leaving, Vivian had someone bring over porridge and hangover soup, leaving both on the table. She sent him a message and then headed to the office. By noon, Vic woke up thirsty. He shuffled downstairs looking half dead with his messy hair. And only after pouring himself some water in the kitchen did he notice the two insulated containers sitting on the table. He frowned in confusion, wondering what they were even supposed to be. When he walked closer, he inspected them again, and only after confirming they definitely weren't bombs did he open the lids, discovering incredibly fragrant porridge inside. He instinctively glanced around. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he remembered having dinner with Vivian the night before. But what happened after that? As he forced himself to think, The scattered scenes from the night before slowly started piecing themselves back together in his head. In the moment he realized exactly how shamelessly he had taken advantage of Vivian, Vic froze on the spot. That was me, the guy who got handsy and still acted righteous about it. That was really me. In the very next second, he collapsed backward onto the couch, letting himself bounce once against the cushions. He was done for. Absolutely done for. His feelings for Vivian had apparently gotten so bad that even his subconscious was making moves for him. How was he supposed to face her after this? Maybe he could just pretend he remembered nothing at all. But would Vivian actually buy that? He was still debating what to do when the doorbell suddenly rang. Vic dragged himself off the couch like a man whose life was already over and drifted toward the door like a ghost. A few seconds later, he opened it, and the second he saw Vivian standing outside, his brain never even caught up. His hand slammed the door shut before he could think. The moment he realized what he had just done, Vic went completely numb. That reaction basically confessed, in the clearest way possible, that he remembered every second of last night. Even through the closed door, he could hear the laughter outside. Vic took a deep breath, then resigned himself and opened the door again. Looking at Vivian with complete sincerity, he said, "I know I was out of line last night. Go ahead and yell at me." He even lowered his head as he apologized, then closed his eyes like he was waiting to be hit. But the slap he was bracing for never came. Instead, a warm hand gently rubbed the top of his head. Vic opened his eyes in surprise, only to find Vivian smiling at him as she asked, "How exactly were you out of line? And how do you know I wasn't willing?" Before Vic could process that, Vivian's face had already moved closer in front of his. Her voice curled around his ear in a low whisper. "Vic, do you know what I wanted to do when you were that close to me last night?" For some reason, the instant those words left her mouth, Vic's gaze dropped helplessly to her lips. He had no idea what Vivian had wanted to do, but he knew exactly what he had wanted to do just now, as if she had read that thought right off his face. Vivian steadied herself again, her heels settling back on the floor. As she brushed past him, she left him with one light line. "The same thing you did." Vic was immediately full of question marks and hurried after her. Lowering his voice, he pressed, "What was I thinking? And what were you thinking?" Then another thought hit him. "Wait, how do you even know what I was thinking?" But Vivian gave him no direct answer at all. Her attention had already shifted to the untouched porridge and hangover soup on the table. In a perfectly natural, concerned tone, she asked, "Did you just wake up?" Vic had every intention of pushing the question further, but after second thought, he realized it would only make him look too invested, so he swallowed it down. In the end, all he gave her was one cool little yeah. When he saw Vivian walk straight into the kitchen, ladling the porridge and soup into separate bowls, he suddenly realized that she was entirely too practiced at doing things like this. In an instant, he remembered the spotless table he'd woken up to earlier. Guilt hit him right away. "Wait, did you clean up the table last night too?" Vivian answered as naturally as if it were nothing. "Yeah, I cleaned it up while I was at it. Come eat. Hurry up." Watching the scene in front of him, Vic couldn't help thinking that she really was being a little too thorough. This wasn't courtship. It felt like she was raising a son. Once he saw that Vivian had already pulled out a chair for him, he had no choice but to walk over and sit down. He took a sip of the thick, silky yam porridge, then looked up at her and asked softly, "You're not having any?" Vivian answered lightly, "I already ate at the office cafeteria." Hearing that, Vic immediately followed up. "Then if you already ate, why did you come over?" But halfway through the sentence, he caught himself and shut up on the spot. Unfortunately for him, Vivian had no intention of wasting that opening. The corner of her mouth lifted as she teased, "I came to see whether our young Master Vic had finally gotten out of bed." Vic instantly felt a little awkward and hurried to explain, "I've just had nothing important to do lately, so I've been a little lazy. It's not like I sleep till noon every day." Watching those tiny little defensive moves of his, Vivian couldn't help laughing. She suddenly realized that just seeing him, even if neither of them did anything at all, was enough to make her mood improve without her permission. The problem was, she laughed so openly. That Vic shot her an annoyed look. Then he promptly sped up and finished everything in front of him. But the second he put down his spoon, he saw Vivian start to get up again to clean. Vic immediately stopped her. No, I'm not helpless. I can do it. What kind of host lets the guest do the housework?" As he spoke, he gathered up the bowls and containers and carried them into the kitchen, rolled up his sleeves, and started washing them in the sink. Then, from the corner of his eye, he noticed Vivian had followed him over at some point and was now standing quietly in the kitchen doorway, watching him. That stare somehow made Vic the one who felt awkward. He finally asked, testing the waters, You don't believe I know how to do housework, do you? Vivian answered softly, that's not it, which only made him more confused. Then why are you staring at me? Vivian smiled, her tone warm and gentle. So you won't get bored. That answer made Vic laugh. Half teasing, half serious, he said, is that so? Since when did our Vivian switch careers and become a professional companion? Does it pay well? Vivian didn't get annoyed in the slightest. She even played along, putting on a thoughtful expression. When she saw Vic place the bowls into the sterilizer, then turn to pick up the insulated containers, she finally answered in a slow drawl, not especially well. Then she handed him a paper towel. The main thing is keeping the client happy. Isn't that right, Vic? Vic wiped the water from his hands and deliberately put on a cool front. I'd say it's average. Vivian immediately stepped closer and pressed him. Average? In what way? Why don't you tell me exactly what's average about it, Vic? The woman in front of him had a figure that was far too distracting, and Vic's eyes visibly brightened. Then, realizing himself, he quickly forced his face back under control and said, "You're too reserved. Someone doing this kind of job should be a little more, you know?" Vivian knew perfectly well what he meant, but she still blinked at him with practiced innocence. A little more what? I don't follow.